Good afternoon. Hello to everyone. Hope you're all well. This Friday, it's dry, which makes a change. Here with Matty, alt golfer's Instagram handle, and any of you that's watched any of Matty's channel, you'll know how passionate he is about his golf and about us.
So yes, very much so.
So, going to have a run through Matty's bag. There's some interesting. I've done the specs on them already. There's some interesting elements in there that we'll come to as we go through, but yeah, have a little fly through and see what we can do.
Yes, yeah.
So on a big journey of improvement.
Yes, yeah. Big journey of improvement. I'm trying to get to scratch at the moment, so yeah. I've basically
substitute.
I started off back in July with this whole kind of like Instagram, YouTube life of doing it, and went from basically being a 10 handicap down to 6 now, so that's kind of where I'm at, really.
It's a brave move to put your golfing improvement live out there.
Well, that's it, yeah.
It's a very, I don't know whether cathartic is the right word for it.
Yeah.
There's no hiding place when you kind of put it out there.
Well, that's it. I don't want it to be all kind of glory shots. I want to put the bad on there. You know, there's stuff on my YouTube channel where I was 4-putting every single hole. Like it still happens. So I want to kind of be as transparent with it and show my highs, my lows, and show actually how difficult it is to get down lower and lower and lower. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah.
I think look, we see the tour guys out there. You know, the golf course make them look like fools, let alone the rest of us.
Yes,
so, you know, it's just, you say, it's the honest truth of golf, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
I'm certain which is an ancient Scottish swear word. Yeah. So we'll start running through. Had over James could look into the left-hand screen here. We've kind of taken a bit of a note of all the specs of your clubs. So, as a set of is it something that's just evolved over time? Have you kind of, obviously there are kind of favourite elements in there that we've all got, but is this something a set you've had for a while? Have you kind of gradually picked bits up, or have you actively gone out looking for certain clubs?
I've always played Titleist. Back when I was a junior, I had Titleist, and that's kind of always been where I'm always fond with the clubs and stuff. And then it was just the kind of, I don't know, I was a bit bad really. All this stuff I actually bought without trying. So irons, wedges, everything like that. It was a lot of it was. I have to like the look of the club.
Yep.
I'm very much like that, as much as it is being a part of the feel and things like that.
It's important for confidence. Yeah. You've got to look forward to using it.
Yes, and that's it. And I kind of wanted to go down the harder route with like muscle backs.
And was that a case of almost challenge yourself to know? You know, a lot of people say to know when you get it right, but in terms of to get that feedback of what essentially a pure strike, a pure swing kind of feels like, rather than kind of cover up any faults.
Well, that's it, yeah. Because I thought, well, if you, I've always enjoyed watching iron players, and people think, for instance, like Adam Scott, great to watch. And that's kind of why I've kind of went down that route, was just because then you've got your purist. Hardest club that you can hit, and if you want to get a good beer ball striker, then learn how to use muscle backs, and that's it, because you've got no forgiveness. Yeah. But now I'm looking for that little bit of forgiveness.
I often think it's better to start down. I would much rather, as a junior starting, to give them something that challenges them a little bit, because actually you learn to find the middle. You learn what the middle of the face feels like. You learn. Totally, there's a bit of almost it's self heals in that. Because you've got to find the middle of the face. Yeah, always, you do. Yeah. Whereas if you go too forgiving, actually you can get away with too much. So actually, from a technique point of view, you've probably done yourself a favour by having those. Yeah. It's much better to go not very forgiving to go, oh, these are really easy. Yeah. Than the other way around can be a massive challenge. Yeah. So definitely not a bad thing to start that way. So running through the set overall, what we can see, so we've got, you say Titleist through TSI 2 driver and a 5-wood and a 917. F3 in the fairway. I'm going to sort of take a little bit of a snapshot of this. So the interesting bit is the driver shaft's heavier than the fairway shafts. Yes. So they're both good shafts. The NV55 in the fairways and the Mitsubishi the Tensei AV in the driver. But where the fairway shafts are shorter, so even if you took the same shaft, you're trimming them shorter, it's going to be lighter in the fairways than the driver, because the weight's always gauged around the uncut length. So the moment you shorten it, you're taking mass off. Yeah. So you're actually going the equivalent of probably 10 grams, at least 10% lighter
Right.
in the fairways with that
Okay.
shaft than it would be in the driver.
Got ya.
Because you're cutting another,
Yeah.
2-3 inches off the club, and there's a typo in that which I'm just going to amend. That was my ham-fisted typing earlier. So yeah, so roughly 3 inches shorter. So you're almost 10% shorter of the shaft length. So what that's going to do automatically is, less weight in the fairways is going to give you less to hit against. So you're going to have to rein them back a little bit more to get the best out of them.
Right.
So those are likely to be almost your best swings are going to be unrewarded, and
Right.
your weaker swings, the ones you kind of rein it back or swing within yourself, are going to
Right.
get a better result with those.
Got you.
Whereas the driver you can commit to a little bit more. Also within that, the swing weights, the 3 woods is just over D0 to 0.5, and you're up at D4 on the best part of D4 on the 5 wood. So that's about 3.5 points, about 7 or 8 grams worth of weight difference in the head. So
Right.
if you have a round of golf where they both perform consistently, then you've got really good hands.
Okay.
Because the same dynamics, the same move
Yeah.
is going to produce different shots,
Yeah.
different patterns.
Well, I've always
So-
found that my 5 wood is probably better out of the two.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just down to the setup or if it's been, I've always struggled with the 3 woods.
Yeah.
I've never
Okay.
really played that too much.
Yeah.
But I've had that recently in the bag because I dropped the 5 wood for a 2-iron.
Right.
But I'm thinking now, after having the 2-iron in there for a while, that
Yeah.
and going back to using my 5 wood, I prefer my 5 wood.
So something you
it's the-
mentioned a little earlier before we came on live was that you've enjoyed feeling the club head more.
Yes.
That is absolutely what you'll get with the 5 wood.
Yeah.
So with the 3 wood, it's light dead weight and light in the head. So
Yeah.
the stronger your swing gets, essentially the more you overpower the club, the less there is to respond to.
Okay.
Whereas at least whilst the dead weight of the 5 wood's light,
Yeah.
you can feel where the bit you're trying to hit the
Got
ball
ya.
with is. So that certainly correlates to
Yeah.
that. Then moving into the irons, you've got the hybrid shaft in the 2-iron. So not necessarily about, and this is one of those things when we get to that, we'll work out whether it's a good or a bad
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
I've always been better matching my driving on my 2-iron exactly the same, building in line with the set, but quite a lot of players you go a little bit lighter.
Okay.
Where you've then got the AMTs, the blacks in the iron shafts. So the AMT ascending mass technology, that all iron sets other than the parallel shafts ascend in mass a little bit. So as you go from a 4-iron shaft to a 5-iron to a 6-iron to a 7-iron,
Yeah.
where they're designed to be 4-iron, 5-iron, 6-iron shafts, they go up about a gram and a bit each shaft.
Okay.
So as you go into the short irons, you're countering that bit where you cut them shorter.
Yeah.
You're kind of keeping the mass as constant as possible.
Okay.
But those ones pitch a little bit stronger. So where they're generally good is where you want some stability in the shorter irons, but normally actually where someone's not as good with the longer irons and the lighter weight makes them a bit easier to swing.
Yeah.
There aren't many of those used on tour because it's almost like having two sets within
Okay,
one. They're
yeah,
slightly
yeah.
strongly pitched. But that's really where they're designed for. Other than that, there's nothing kind of really untoward. I know there's been a little bit of remedial work on the balance done. There's a bit of lead tape on them, which if anyone follows Lead Tape Chronicles on Instagram, that's quite a fun page.
Yeah.
All the best players put lead tape on
Yes,
their
yeah.
club. So what you've done is a pretty good job of matching the swing weights, and there's a little bit of an up and down in the middle. But
I'm quite impressed with that actually, because that's just all done off feel. That was literally just going to the range, hitting some balls and going, one layer feels all right,
Yeah.
2 layers, okay, take one off, one on, one off, and that's how I've kind of gone with it.
within reason, as we go through the fits, that's kind of what we'll be doing.
Okay.
There's an element. Swing weight is not an absolute measure. It varies whenever you change any of the components. What that means in terms of how much feel for the club head, how heavy it swings, varies because it's a static balance. So it doesn't take into account what the components are and
Yeah.
how they're set up. It's just, right, you put them on a static scale and it comes out with a random sequence of letters and numbers.
Right,
And you go,
okay.
okay, it was D2.
Yeah.
But if you change the shaft weight by 15 grams,
Yeah.
that static balance point shifts. It's gonna swing differently.
Right.
So, but actually, so with my own set, what I'll do is build them just sort of under what I think is correct, and then do it by feel.
Right.
Because actually, we need to kind of trust our instincts a little bit more as golfers. People just think, "Oh, I'm not very good. I can't feel that." Actually,
Yeah.
we can. It's just
Right.
you kind of need to allow yourself to.
Yeah.
So, as you say, you've done a pretty good job. You think the top two within. There's not a lot other than the 6 technically being a bit lighter.
Yeah.
7 a little heavier. Actually, to be within a swing weight point, doing that literally just by hands,
Yes.
is pretty good. Yeah.
I'll
So,
say
which tells me something about your game already. Which but they're all, they're very neutral. They're a fractionally, or they're kind of an old school standard length, so a 1/4 inch shorter than current standard.
Yeah. I do actually feel like sometimes, and when I look back, I feel like I have like children's clubs. Like it does feel like I'm a little bit too, like especially I think it's my lob wedge. My 60 degree.
The wedges are short.
That's what I've noticed. Yeah, and I do feel sometimes I'm looking at it like I'm there, like I'm really, and I just feel like sometimes I want to be
a bunker shot below your feet. Where you,
yeah.
I mean, irons are. I mean, there's a window of about 1/2 inch you can fit within for length. So you're looking at someone's sort of leg length, arm proportions. You've got longish arms.
Yeah.
So it's not like Retief Goosen is taller than me, but has stand length clubs because his arms are about the length of my leg.
Right. Got you.
Your natural posture, someone's ball striking ability, and so if you've got someone very tall who is a bit sketchy on strike, then you're weighing up. You don't want too much club to have to get back to the ball because you're not going to find the middle of the face regularly.
Right, okay.
So you can, but they're on the bottom end, kind of looking kind of at your base stature. They're at the bottom end of where we'd go to.
Okay.
The wedges are, the 60 in particular is short. It's about 1/2 inch shorter than standard, but they're not necessarily what they appear. They've got Vokey on them, but they might have been made in a different factory. So that's where they're going to come out a little bit quirky in terms of specs. They are a bit shorter than standard, or progress a little shorter as you go down from the 52 to the 56 to the 60. But the head weights, that's where the finish is different than a real one.
Yes,
but the head weights are where they really vary. So the tolerance on head weights are awful. So that's where they're going to be something that, from a length point of view, is going to feel weird. And say balance-wise, say the 52's at C8, and that's with leg tape on. So that side is a if I can't improve on those, I'm in the wrong game.
Right. Okay.
But all in all, obviously the wedges are separate. We'll look at those separately. But generally speaking, you're pretty neutral blend through. So where your driver is pretty neutral on balance. You've done a good job with the swing rates on the irons. There's nothing kind of funky. The AMT blacks are they're in a kind of mid-weight steel, so they're around the 110 mark. So what we'll do, and lofts are, being the MBs, are kind of an old school standard.
Traditional,
So quite a 30, 31 on the 6 iron is relevant to current day, fairly weak. But it's all about getting the right flight. So some players need 31, some need 27. So what we'll do, we'll have a few more swings, and then we'll get a bit of data, and we'll take it all from there.
Right. Okay.
So you've been doing some swing work recently with Lewis.
Yes.
What's the current focus? Or latest focus?
Latest
lesson?
So over like the last couple of lessons, we've just been working on like my hip rotation. Also a bit of sort of like weight within my feet as well. Before I used to transfer a lot onto the backswing, onto the back foot. So just getting that not so 100% zero. So getting that there, and then
is that more of a case of feeling when you're in the backswing, feeling you're loading into that side?
Yes,
Rather than
before, I was very much kind of loading onto this side of and then sort of swaying a bit, and that was kind of that was one of the focus, and also just getting a little bit just a touch shallower. I find a lot of the time as I go up the bag, I get steeper.
The bag's in towards the top end.
Towards the top end. So as I go up, So with longer irons, just getting that little bit shallow, just a touch shallower and coming in, and just sorting a little bit of like path as well, because I've been going swing paths coming out left a lot of the time. So just feeling like I'm starting at right of target. And that sort of feeling, even though predominantly last one was a draw, but predominantly play a fade. But I think when I do get that shallowness in there, it does come out with a draw. So
cool. And naturally right-handed?
Yes.
Any other sports you've done a lot of in particular?
A bit of everything: rugby, football, ice hockey, things like that. So that's kind of where the sports.
There aren't many ice rinks left. That's a rare.
No, a lot of them are closed down now, especially around the south sort of area. You lost Isle of Wight, that one's gone. I think Bournemouth had one, that's gone. So it's predominantly here, like Guildford, bases like them sorts of ones. So.
And any injuries at all, or kind of long-term ones rather than just gym-inflicted ones? Stiffness.
Injury? No real sort of injuries at the moment. Stuff like that. Predominantly because of my work, where I do dry lining, so plasterboard, partition ceilings. Generally, it's hard. It takes its toll on my body. So, but I take care of my back and my shoulders mainly. So anything like that, that's the kind of the main thing that I keep an eye on.
Grand. Right.
Any particular? Just
once you're fully released, we'll get a few shots with the 6, but grab anything you like.
Yeah, I'll start with an 8 for us.
And once you get going, we'll put the right. But what ball do you play?
Pro V1.
Done right. Okay, cool.
Pro V1. Yeah.
It's a very clean pair of shoes as well.
They're actually brand new. I bought them today actually because I had.
If they weren't, I'd have wanted to know what you used to clean them.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah. So happy about that. First one out of the way now. I had a nightmare last night. I was going to hosel it on the first one, so I'm quite.
So has that been a lack of sleep?
A little bit lack of sleep. Yeah, a little bit nervous for today. So settle in now.
And you said you played a little bit when you were younger. Was that what got you into golf originally?
It was my mum. My mum actually. So my dad got my mum into golf, and then my dad stopped playing, and then my mum carried on, and then that was kind of like my after-school treat really. And then I got into it about I was about 13 when I started, and then played through till 19, 20. Stopped for like 10, 12 years, and then picked it up about 2 years ago. So. Yeah, it's been going well. Going well.
Where do you play your golf now?
I'm from Portsmouth, so I play. My home course is Wickham Park. Yeah. But I like to travel around the south sort of, and I don't like to stick at sort of one course week in week out. Yeah. You can get a bit complacent, I think.
Yeah, getting some nice variety of courses there. You got your Hailing not too far away, which can be interesting if the weather does what it can do. Yeah. Don't know what you're worried about. Yeah. This all looks very orthodox to me.
Thank you.
And would you say, when you're swinging generally, would you say is it more natural to be more of a kind of a tempo, rhythm-based player, or more natural to be, not necessarily better, but more natural to be a bit more aggressive and give it a hit? So I've always been better going down a club and make sure I commit to it.
Yes, yeah. So I think for me, my tendency, I get really quick and out of tempo. So I have to really focus on my tempo. Okay. And generally, I would rather take like one more club, play it softer, than try and go with like a full club or try and muscle it harder. Because I feel like if I'm trying to muscle stuff, that's when swing goes out, head comes up, or spine angle changes, all the lot. So it's I've always been kind of like a smooth, just at the moment trying to just be really smooth.
Right.
That's the miss, I think. That'll be left. Yeah. That's generally sort of like the miss that I'll have is
or kind of starting online and overdrawing.
Yeah, overdrawing. Yeah, so that's generally kind of the miss. It's either that way or I'll clip it thin. That's kind of like the two. Right. That's it. It's generally that's the miss there.
And if you thin it, is it likely to go left as well?
No.
So just let me know as you go through, just let me know as and when you feel suitably limber.
Yeah.
There we go, I'll make sure I get the Pro Vs out so we've got the right, the right balls. These are X's, Pro V1, Pro V1, perfect. Great stuff. So as you've been there, just dead down the line is your aim point. What would you play, what would be a comfortable, when it's a bit warmer than it is at the moment, distance? If you've got a par 3 on a good 6-iron yardage, what would you play for?
Probably like 175, roughly around that. That's sort of. I don't see myself as a particularly long hitter. So I think, yeah, roughly around like 175. But then this is where, with the muscle backs, you can clip it, and you stand the sort, you're thinking 175, and you'll get this rogue like 185 come out of there and things like that. And then if you get just that little bit off, the drop and the decrease is just is massive. So it's just yeah.
That was an easy game, isn't it?
I've actually hit it really well today. I feel that.
Would you take dead aim and would you play forward right to left shape, or would you just take dead aim and it might kind of generally start a little right?
Well, normally, I've always played a fade, and it seems today I'm playing a draw. I don't know why that's happening at the moment. I think since we've done this swing change a little bit, where I've been working on my hips and again, we were seeing more of a draw. Yeah. I think that was predominantly just because we've changed a lot with my grip, everything. I had a really super weak grip. So we've gone a lot stiffer with the grip. Yeah. Or stronger, sorry. Yeah. And then applying more sharply and things like this throughout. This is what we've been working on.
Yeah, it's not. I would say impact position is really nice. Dynamics there are great. And have you seen, granted it's going to be only sort of the last week or so since you've done the change, have you seen the flight change much?
I've always kind of hit quite a low flight. I've noticed that more since changing my grip and applying more like sharply, obviously. But I've always been kind of quite a low flight. And sometimes,
do you like that visual? Do you like seeing that low flight?
I don't mind it when I'm at this sort of with 6. Yeah. It's when I get into like 5, 4 driver and things like that. It's sometimes quite hard because you're looking at it and you're like, I need to land this on the green, and I just can't get it like up enough to land that little bit soft. So it's I've noticed it more with the cavity, because I've got the 4-iron in the cavity back version of the 602. I've noticed that goes up a nicer height that I like than my 5-iron. Okay. But yeah, I've always hit kind of quite a low ball flight. Yeah. Felt a little bit thin, but still.
Oh, pretty commercial. Yeah. Get the one more would be great. That gives me enough to go with. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice swings. So the good sides, they're not horrendously set up, and we're going, oh my God, you've been doing all this practice with something awful from a setup point of view. But there are definitely going to be some tweaks we can make. So generally going through, I mean, nice swings, nice contact. What I can see, the base weight's not a million miles off, because you actually look pretty well in sync through the ball. It's not like the club's getting stuck and you're having to come out of it. Yeah. There's a little bit, they can get a little bit overplaying on the way down. You're not getting out to win on it, but you can just see the club starting to get away from you. Yeah. And I think the problem there is that's been okay probably to now, but as you start to swing it better and get it on a better line, you're going to be able to put more force in. Not necessarily have to hit it harder, but the club's not going to want to drop in and stay in line for you. So where you've done the work, you've done the grip change, trying to shallow it out a little bit, getting that rotation working a bit more, they just look a little bit bottom end light. So what's going to happen is, since you can get into a great position there, you put force on this end and it effectively does that a little bit. So it can get a little bit that way,
Yeah.
which is where some of those left hands come in, because you
Right.
just overpower it, right hand wraps over,
Yeah.
especially if you've had a bit of a tendency to get out to win as well,
Okay.
then it can really throw it and go that way.
Yeah.
Whereas something with a bit more guts down the bottom end is naturally going to create that, literally the mass of the bottom end drops it in a
Yeah.
bit more. So it gives you a little bit more to drive against and to work against.
Okay.
And that's going to help to keep the club, so almost so dropping in and coming through the line,
Yeah.
rather than being able to go that way and left.
Got you.
So the better the more efficient your action gets,
Yeah.
you're going to put more force into the club. And so we've got to let you, from where you are now, have that little bit more of a forward move.
Okay.
Whereas at the moment they're right on the top end of what they can withstand, essentially.
Right.
So as you can see from a swing line point of view, paths pretty much 2 degrees into out, pretty much each one. Attack angle, you're marginally on the stronger side, but that ties in with the lower launch.
Yeah.
But that also means good ball striking. So you generally, if you're a little bit steeper, you're getting, people talk about compression, but you're squeezing the ball, you're on top of it, and so you
Okay.
get a good efficiency, good smash, good energy transfer. So spin's fairly neutral. Wouldn't want it, because you've got the lower launch angle, wouldn't want it much lower. But that lower launch angle gives you a really nice strong flight if you're going and playing in wind. But as you rightly say, at the top end of the iron set, it's going to be coming in like an extra set. So that's actually where the old school lofts actually work for you, because they help keep a little bit of flight. So we don't want to be going to some low loft cannon.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going to turn your 6-iron into a 4-iron.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Got you.
yeah. So, but generally, there's a lot of good stuff there. Club face control looks good. It's just at a point now where I would look at this and go, yeah, there's nowhere left to go with them. We need to give you something to develop with and into a little bit more, rather than you're going to start to have to kind of place the club on the ball rather than turn through it.
Okay.
So that's really, it's sort of future-proofing them. And actually, they wouldn't have been, especially once you've got that weight on the heads, they would have been a nightmare without the weight on the heads.
Oh,
There'd
yeah.
been no way of stopping them getting kind of
Yeah.
overplaying and shutting down, and then you've got to steer it open and back off it and all that. That's probably where some of the thins are coming from, because the weight on the head won't pull you down to the bottom of the ball.
Right.
So that's where some of the flip left and the thin comes from.
Okay.
So not a million miles off, but we're going to need to give a bit more guts to them for the next step.
For the future. Yeah.
So yeah, but otherwise, there's a lot of good stuff there. So it's in some respects it's fine tuning, but it's now giving you the tools to get from where you are now to keep committing through the shot and know that the club's there for you when you want to make a nice sort of strong move on it, and let that move get a bit stronger and have a bit more guts there. So
Okay.
yeah. What I'm going to do to start with, and I would want to go a little bit longer. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a, and you're okay when you get to the upper half, because you're 37, 38 inches. That's not an issue at that end, but it's going to be down the bottom end. It's going to start to get hands sort of between your knees as you get to the bottom end. So go a little bit longer. Probably half-inch tops, quarter-half-inch. We'll just let your head stand up a little bit more, and that'll create the space down the bottom end to stay in posture a little bit more. So rather than if you've got to sit down into it, the moment you put any speed in, you're probably going to come up to the top of the backswing, and then you've got to get back down to it. But then you get stuck here, and you've got to get out of the way, and you'll come out of it and thin it. So I say certainly to the wedges, but into the irons, just a little bit more length to help you stay in posture. Any questions as we go through? Just
that's
stop
fine.
me and
No,
ask. There's no dumb question to be
I'm
asked.
gonna take your lead on everything here, so that's fine.
So I'm gonna get. I don't want to change head type too much to start. These are fairly kind of neutral club head. I'll probably I might as well start. I'll start with the CB just because it's a. I don't want to use the head to do anything first. I want to look at the shaft, get that bit right first, see where we get to on flight, and then we can use the head to manipulate from there. So I'll get a couple of options for you.
Perfect. So, not any ones that we can use on live. Lift music, yeah. Well, I'm just amazed that the amount of actual selection that you've got behind here. Just one where you know where everything is. Because
Well,
I'd be there.
I do most of the time. It's when the other guy's putting back in the wrong place.
That's
it gets
it,
a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah. Not that I'm OCD at all. Yeah, you say there are a lot of options, and I think that's the beauty now from a fitting point of view. There are so many tools at our disposal to go right. You can really zone it in. You can really say right, we need it 2 or 3 grams heavier. We need a different balance point. And so historically, things like inserts in shafts or counterbalances and things like that, people have used those to manipulate to try to get the feel they want.
Yeah.
But really, you're doing that with the shaft, with the dynamics of it and the structure of it, rather than adding something in. Then you're just changing the base weight, and so there are so many ways, so many tools that we can use to get the clubs to where we want them to be.
Yeah.
It's 99% of the time there's something you can use to fine tune it. Whereas, historically it was always a case of kind of that'll do because you had heavy and stiff, heavy and not so stiff, and nearly as heavy and nearly as stiff.
Right.
Whereas iron shafts, you can go anything in graphite down to, I think next year we might be able to get like 38 gram shaft. Now you consider a grip's 50 grams on average.
Okay.
For a standard size. You can go from sub 40 grams up to 137.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a vast difference in spec that you can put together and find something that works for a player. So not changing dead weight too much, but changing the weight profile of the shaft. So really just starting to give you a little bit more in the bottom half. So it's a case of taking each individual component, going right. If we change this element, so like balance point, is it a good or a bad change? If it's a good change, we'll push it a little bit more and find where we top out, bring it back down. If it's not, we'll be able to see why it's not working, then we can shift another direction. But
and that's the 620 CB.
CB, yeah. Okay, so we get
I did feel that does feel I can just know where the head is now.
Yep.
I think it's a bit of a guessing game with what I've got. And
that's where you can see as you change direction, when we get the balance right, the club's just going to drop into plane. With the other ones, you can see a little bit of a wobble going on. Yeah. So it's working out whether is it just head weight we need, or is it weight through the bottom half of the club. Right. If the bottom half is the wrong one, then it's going to get stuck, and you're going to start to struggle to square it up. Okay, let's see one more there. A little clean. So what's interesting is, so the first one, because you're used to not having very much on the bottom end of hit again. Yeah. First one's just stayed out right. Yeah. Because you're making a similar move you would with those. And then each shot, we've gone a little straighter as you've got used to having something there to work with. Yes, yeah. So I'll take that up a little bit more. Yeah. And the thing is that the first couple are fairly within reason for it. So we need to change it enough to get you out of the habits that you're used to doing with those, and then we'll start to see a more natural timing come through. Right. So I feel like I just wanted it to that little bit more like that. I just wanted that kind of when you're. It's one of my friend who I play with quite a lot. He's got the TaylorMade MB, but the P7 MBs, and they've got really nice head weight to them. And when you're there, it feels like probably maybe like a gram or two like heavier than that, and they're just really nice. You can just where that head is, and that's what made me then realise what was kind of severely wrong with mine. Because actually, I was trying to think. Yeah, they're a good. Some of them have got I think my 8 iron. That's the one that I've got taped up the nicest. That one's probably I think it's got 4 or 5 layers of tape on it. Yeah. So of those, that'll be 1.5 or 2. So about 3.5 swing rate points on that. Good.
Yeah.
About 3 swing rate points, I'd have thought, for that tape, which is a lot. I mean, that's, we talk about moving swing rate around, and that's normally only 1 or 2 points. So to be going 3 or so is a big change. Okay, so gone up a little bit more in weight here.
That's lovely.
As one of my golf buddies would say, well, if you meant to do that, that's quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can feel it as I'm coming down and wanting to go on that inside plate. You can just feel that club.
The club will just get in there on its own, Because then it just, once everything else equalises, it allows you just to move through the ball. And then it's just a question of how committed, how strong a swing these naturals are making do you want to make. Yeah, so going up in weight, so where your current one's around the 110, 108 to 113, that's 120.
Right.
So I've now just shifted weight up. We're going to push it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because you could see you can use the weight to make the swing rather than fighting it or guiding it. So.
And is that slightly longer as well, the shaft?
A little bit longer, yeah. These are all, so to start with, just a 1/4 inch longer. So kind of a modern day standard.
I just feel a lot more like athletic position, just not so kind of.
Yeah, and it's literally only a 1/4 inch. So your head will pick up a little bit, but it's actually just that small amount on the angle is about 1/3 of a ball.
Right. Okay.
So it allows you to stay the same distance from the ball, but stand up a little bit.
Gotcha.
Take a bit more athletic posture. So let's push this up a little bit more. Okay, let's go.
But I actually really like that CB. I've got it in my 4-iron, and I do. It's just it's really nice actually. To be fair, they're not the most, it's like aesthetically pleasing, but they play really well. That's the kind of, I think they're on the kind of the duller side. They're not as flashy and things, but I think that's kind of, it's one of them. Like, what would you rather have? A really flashy set that you can't hit, or something that's not so appealing?
I'm sure there are a lot of players who will get.
Yeah. I love the flashy
I think it's if you can get something that functionally works well, but you really look forward to taking out in the bag. That's nirvana. That's the ideal.
That's
that
it.
You look at and go, yeah, that's a bit of me.
Oh wow, yeah.
So this I've pushed the weight up a little bit more. This is making sure we don't go in 2 gram increments. Okay.
Got a little bit.
Okay.
But still felt nice. I think that was just a bit of a rogue swing there.
Okay, so we've now just tipped over the top
over
end.
the threshold, yeah.
So, but we're now at 125, 126. So whilst they say 130s and modus 130s, they're actually more 125.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That you can start to see. You have to work at it. So the first one didn't quite come with stay that right. The next one you made sure you got it there and
flip it. Yeah.
Okay, not over the top, but it catapults the head round. So hence you're starting then to get more of a miss because you're having to overwork, which makes you stand up to flip it through, and then the face starts to get volatile.
Got you.
So, right, so we found top end. So we know you need a certain amount of weight, probably around the 120 mark.
Okay.
That then gives you enough to have the club drop into line, drop into plane, but also to keep driving onto it. So then you can commit to the shot, but everything lines up, everything neutralises. So it's interesting going, the second one going that bit heavier, immediately squared up.
Yes.
The previous one that was lighter with more on the bottom end, first one was outright, and then you started to find your way into it.
I got you.
So,
in regards to you saying it with swing weight at 120, is that just because I don't actually really know what is standard kind of sort of swing weight? Is there a standard?
Shaft, I mean, swing weight wise, standard would be about D1, D2.
Yeah.
At a neutral length.
Yeah.
Shaft, I say steel goes for anything from 80 grams to best part of 140. Right. Now, the 137s are for, animals. You don't use those very often. But like a dynamic gold S300 is 131 grams. So you've got a 50 gram window. So We're seeing average shaft weights drop, where technique's now becoming much more speed oriented and therefore rotational and snap, rather than we got taught drive the legs, pull on the handle. It's much more lateral, so you need the weight to drop the club back in. But then it didn't lend itself to speed and power. So now everything's working much more rotation speed based.
Yeah.
Guys like Patrick Cantlay's in a 115 gram shaft,
Right.
but he's not that muscular action at Koepka in a 130 gram shaft, because he's got that massive great rip down onto it. But we're seeing shaft weights on average come down because the game's now about, to a point, it's always been about distance, but it's about generating speed. But the mechanics of the swing, like kind of Lewis and Stewart coaching, they're much more efficient now. And the weight was only there because you needed it to, as you slide forwards, you need the club to drop back in. Which is why most people now like fatter, heavier club, because it just gets in behind them and they're not catapulting out the way. So in order to make things more efficient, we're seeing shaft weights come down a bit. But on average, we're still kind of 100, 110, I would have thought, on average.
Cool.
Across all standards of play.
Yeah.
So let's go to.
I'll just get my drink out of my bag. Oh, my bag's not around there.
I can mute your microphone if you need the loo.
Okay, yeah.
Just going to. Just got to very quickly. It's just a little sticky. I'm just going to clean this out.
No, that's fine. Definitely seeing an improvement. Definitely, it's really good. Really happy.
Enjoying it so far?
Yes. Oh God, yeah. Always.
Was it worth all that anxiety?
It's quite nerve-wracking, especially when like doing it live. But it's fun.
Mike does golf?
Mike does golf. Yes, Mike does golf. Yes.
There he is. Good to see Matt on live.
Yeah, that's my mate. Yeah, that's who I play with. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's just actually he started a TikTok and he dropped one video and it got 5 million views. I know. Dropped it. Yeah, it was the greenkeepers at Wickham Park doing like cutting out the hole, and yeah, it got I think it was like 5.4 million views now, which is which it kind of hurt a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because he set it up and overnight got like 3,000 followers, and then I've been grinding away for 6 months. Like, it's that kind of, it's playing into that like AMSR. So it's quite cinematic shot, and you can hear him like driving the hammer in and everything like that. So I think that's what people like, I think, as well. Oh God, the sound that Lewis creates from like his irons is just it's just
sickening, isn't
it?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
That swing is so easy in terms of effort levels.
Oh yeah, when you look at it and you see it, and you don't see, when you actually don't see it in the flesh and you see it online, you're thinking, God, he must be only hitting it like 110 yards with a 7-iron or something, because it's just so smooth. But the power when you actually then hear it, it's just in the flesh.
Yeah, we did that the live with Lewis and Stewart. He's always going to hit it quite long, but I didn't expect the amount of speed that there was for that smooth a swing.
Yeah,
it's very.
There's some swing enemy there.
Yeah, it's definitely. You can't look at that and go, oh, that looks really nice.
Yeah.
So just.
Mike apologised. He said his bad.
And you just get. Whilst he's just clean that head out, I'll get another head that we can test a shaft with just whilst he's sorting that out. Yeah, he's just cleaning out the inside of the hosel a little bit. It just got a little bit of grit in there. So I'm just going to go back to that 120 gram weight. and just look at some different balance points, kind of see as we test around that side of it. Because it certainly, on that initial hit, looked to be a good base weight.
And is this the different head on this one?
Just for now, yeah,
Yeah.
whilst he sorts that out. But going to get a head that, in theory, should give a little bit more flight. I'll just match the lofts up. What will happen the moment I hand this to you, I'll walk out with the head all cleaned up. Close, but not yet.
Cheers, mate. Close, I think that was.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Yep.
That does feel a lot nicer in the weight than the last
Yep.
one, I know that.
Yeah. Heavy's just hard work.
Yeah.
it's- and that 1 in 10 that goes really well feels great, but you know the next one's going to feel horrible. Yeah, less. So I took the balance point up away from the tip end. You can see you're just,
Yeah.
again, struggling to find the club head with
Yeah,
it.
that's it,
So
yeah.
we need a bit of flow through the bottom half of the shaft for sure.
Okay.
All right. That's good. Thank you. Leave that there. We'll go back to that one. Okay. That, and do this for the moment. Thinking out loud. It's a kind of normal kind of semi-internal conversation that normally no one else would hear. if you
Yeah.
haven't got a mic just below your
That's it.
chin.
I'm very big on talking to myself. So a lot of the time it's the only one that listens, really. So
You've just got 5,000 people watching.
There you go, yeah.
oh, please.
Did you see the hesitation there? Huh? Yeah. Okay. So sometimes if it doesn't go right, it's good because at least, so with each of these changes, we're kind of notching
Yeah.
off each variable
Yeah.
and saying, right, good, bad,
Yeah.
and
I
that
think-
really zone in on,
So far,
Best.
the nicest one was before we went up.
yeah.
That was the nicest one.
Yeah,
That just
certainly looked, so from my point of view, what I'm looking for is it just to look simple.
Yeah.
The better it is, the more it's just letting you move and everything's working as a unit. So it starts to look much, it's a bit like with, everyone says in sport, people got time. Yeah, it's just.
That's nice.
looking
It
a
just
bit
feels like
nuts.
it's that little
Okay,
bit
but
like-
yeah. And that one again, I've exaggerated weight down the bottom
Yeah.
a little bit more. So it's like getting everything cricket. You know, batsman who's in form and in balance has so much time to play shots. And in golf, it kind of looks like there's all the time in the world to drop the club through and stay. Essentially, we stay in frame and in posture better.
Yeah.
So everything then looks really simple because you're not in your own way, you're not
Yeah.
fighting anything. So the better the club set up, the more time it'll look like you've got to make the swing.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to testing the wedges. That's kind of the one that I am looking forward to the most, I think, to be fair. I think it's just seeing like especially with like getting like the black shafts and stuff like that, they do look
Black shafts at the moment could take time.
right.
So in without wanting to
Burst someone's bubble.
to do something on your fire. It's the one thing that with shaft production, because it's anything like the C-tapers with the matte finish, anything that's a non-chrome finish is an extra production layer.
Right, okay, yeah.
So it's not doable, it just might take longer.
It's just longer, yeah.
That was one of the things over the last couple of years. They had to prioritise what they sell most of, and also what's least complicated to manufacture.
Right. Okay.
So the black finishes went pretty early in the pandemic issue. So they are on the way back. It's just a question on timelines. Much better again. Yeah, much better again. Yeah.
That felt
I know,
nice, yeah.
Slight drift right, but in terms of, again, looking at how connected as it starts down, everything then much cleaner, much more connected through the ball.
Yeah.
That was nice. Yeah, and so what's good there, first one's always a bit of a sighter. Second one, you're going, I like that, I'll hit it a bit harder.
Yeah.
And then it's squared up. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to go, I know it's only a couple, but I'm just going to switch you back.
That's fine.
Give you too many, you'll start to adapt to them. So I want to, at this point, and also I don't want you to hit 400 shots whilst we're in there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll just switch back to the earlier one that you liked as well. What's interesting as well is when they've, second shot was a better move into it and can see launch angle pick back up a little bit more again. The ones that aren't quite so good get a little bit, kind of scoot out a little bit lower. So, okay, there we go. That's that one.
That feels nice. I do like the feel of that one.
Yeah, there'll be a bit more. So of the two shafts, both Project X shafts, these two, but that one's the LZ. LZ stands for loading zone. So essentially, the little ripples you can see on the shaft are essentially little steps.
Yes.
So and the steps, all the steps do on your current ones where they've got steps there, it just narrows the shaft down.
Yeah.
Those shafts start with steps and then they straighten them out. So, but the closer they are together, the quicker it narrows and the more the shaft loads at that point.
Okay.
So you get a bit more feedback. In principle, a little bit more launch out of that shaft than the standard Project X, but a bit more response back off the shaft. A bit. Okay. I'm gonna just gonna make the swing weight a little bit less heavy, just to see. Again, that one's just staying right on you.
Yeah.
So I just want to see if taking a bit of head weight off helps to square that off. Good efficiency. Yeah, getting good ball speed efficiency on that. Doesn't look, it's not hard work to swing it, just looks slightly late on you through the ball.
Yeah.
So
I'm really enjoying just the feel and the actual feel of impact as well. You just noticing that everything just feels at the centre at the moment.
Yeah, it'll feel a bit more solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, there's just a bit more guts to the club, so there's a bit more momentum, a bit more kind of getting into the back of the ball and impact, and the weight's again probably taking you down into the bottom of the ball a little bit more.
Right.
A little cleaner. Let me put that last one back in. Just swap that back over. This is where these sort of little kind of switching around between them can kind of highlight one that just works a little bit better.
Yeah.
In that first time round looked great.
Yeah.
Doesn't look quite as clean this time round.
Right.
So it'd be interesting going back to this to see whether that tidies it up a little.
Okay.
I'll just take that back to where it was. First batch. There we go. Yeah, it squares up better.
Yeah, way
Yeah,
better.
so the LZ swings slightly more tip heavy than the standard.
Okay.
And that's literally the difference, is that I could take the head weight off the LZ, but the bottom half's still
Yeah.
going to get a bit late. To lose that, you'd then lose the feel for the
Yeah.
head. Whereas that is a slightly more even weight profile.
Yeah.
Structurally just as stable, even actually, the 5.5 to the 6.0 would probably play a similar flex. So it might feel a little tighter, but you're
Yeah.
able to just collect and square the face on,
Yeah.
on its own without your hands having to do it. So if
Yeah.
we put you in the LZs, you just see them leak right a little bit.
Okay.
You then have to close the face with your hands rather than just rotating. So that
Rotating
last
through.
swing, you're 1.5 into out and 1/2 degree closed. So you've got all of 3 foot of shot shape on it, but it's just dropping back
Yeah.
in. Whereas on the LZ, you're averaging a little bit open to the face versus a little bit closed. So
Yeah.
you can see it's a little faint on, it's clearer on this screen, but the shot pattern is neutral to right.
Yeah.
With the Project X, there's one a little bit right, but actually then the other swing, that last one particularly, you start to see it coming back in.
Yeah.
So we'll get a couple more with this, just to kind of fill those shots out a bit more. But
Yep.
just looked easier to bring it back to square
Yeah.
rather than having to square it up.
I can just feel a lot more where like the face is.
Yep. Yeah. So not middle, but again, we can see it's not,
Yeah.
your path's starting it a little bit right, but it's not then going further right off that.
Yeah.
So you're getting the club face back in line with your swing line.
Yeah.
Easier with that.
This yeah, it definitely feels the nicest. I like this one.
Just got over that. That one did get over.
Yeah.
On. Well, actually, not a lot. It looked like a bit, but actually,
Yeah.
strike off a little bit. It's square.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a, I'm just going to get one other variable just to cross-reference that. Yeah, I'm just going to take it up. Just take it to the slightly, it's more for the weight, but take it up to the stiffer flex just to see if that, again, just tips it over the edge. So I want to make sure we don't do is not future-proof it.
Right.
So just see if we shift it up a notch, are we back into where the, okay, not exaggerated as the heavier one, but is it just making you have to force it a little bit? Or actually does it give you something to work with? It's only about 3 grams heavier, 3-4 grams heavier, so it's not a vast amount. Just keep the balance the same. And this is always the, I say challenge, but for someone who's working in the game and improving, you've got to make sure we want them to work now, but we've also got to be conscious of, I kind of need to set them up for your better timed swings, because that's going to become your average swing.
Right.
So the exaggeration of it is when you get a teenager getting bigger and stronger, you've got to fit for 6 months down the line.
I think that felt better, a lot better.
Yeah. Which I think then gives us our answer.
That felt a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
Like, is that just that you've changed the
It's gone
flex?
from the 5.5 to the 6.0, so it's the same profile.
Yeah.
It's technically slightly firmer. The flex on its own is about 1% of the actual amount of bending of the shaft.
Right,
maybe
okay.
2, 0.5 of the frequency, 5 CPM
Yeah.
in a shaft that's 300 or 270 is literally nothing. But it's that the balance profile stays the same, but the weight just ups those few grams.
Right.
So again, just dead weight, you've got a little bit more to work with. So again, moving forwards, you've got a bit more to commit with. So it facilitates putting a more efficient move on and the club staying with you.
Yeah.
And actually almost, I say, rewards you for doing that, rather than like with those, you're then you're not rewarded for doing that, because you're going to stick it in the dirt flip the face over, and then have to rein it back again.
Right.
So that then should help, one, to shallow the plane naturally. The mass of the club is going to drop it in a bit more for you.
Yeah.
So as you transition and change direction, I'll do it that way, it won't sit, then the club's naturally wanting to drop down into plane more without you having to put it there.
Yeah.
Which then makes it a more natural line through, but then you've got something to hit against, so you can just keep accelerating, keep the pressure on the handle, which you're going to do more and more and more. The more in line your swing is, well, you don't have to back off for it, and you can just freewheel it.
And just curious, what is the sort of yardage that I'm getting?
183 on that one. Carry.
183, really? That's
So very
increased,
efficient.
yeah.
So the smash 144, which is, you know, because you get that bit of shaftly, and you because of your lower launch, you're de-lofting a bit more. You're going to generate a bit more ball speed than someone who launched it at 16.
Yeah.
But you know, spin's still in a similar kind of place. Flight's very similar to where we started off, so that's not really changed.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I mean, that's a single shot. But if we compare, you know, say launch angle and spin the same, you picked up what was it on that one? Yeah, 3-4 yards. A little bit more efficiency.
Yeah.
So you know, 122 ball speed. It's gone to 124.5.
Yeah.
So so it's based on what we were getting. As you're saying, we weren't looking to make earth-shattering changes, but actually kind of knit the clubs together to let you move the game on the next step. Whereas, say, those, you're right on the top end of what you can do swing-wise with them, because they're the limiting factor in you taking your swing on a little further. We can see you can make the swing line move. That's all there.
Yeah.
It's just you're starting to put more energy in than they can balance off.
They can take.
So yeah.
Perfect. Wow. Yeah.
That's kind of for where you are, that's sort of the challenge, is that you've got the swing before and then you get a little out of sync. And so if we push it to this, what it'll do is it'll highlight when you get out of sync.
Yeah.
But it'll reward you when you get it right.
Yeah.
If you weren't working in your game, I would revert back to the previous one.
Right.
Because
okay,
I don't want to make it too challenging. I don't want to force you to have to get it right.
Yeah.
You need to know when you get it right. So
Yes.
we can go that a little more, because so you're not just sat back doing nothing with your game. You're pushing to take your game forward with the gym work, with the lessons and things.
Yeah.
So we've got to make sure that when you get your game, you know, everything's trending forwards. So we've got to allow for that.
Right.
Yeah. So for that swing.
Yeah.
Basically. So it's not making them horribly unplayable.
Yeah.
It's just going, right, well, you've got to get it right now.
Yeah.
But swing lines, very, very repeating. You know, your tolerance on club path is 0.7 of a degree.
Wow.
You know, tolerance on face to path, 1.3, which, considering you're in a bit of a, you know, you're doing swing work, that's good. So, you know, yes, that's the miss where you just got a little bit out of sync, missed the timing, but the two good swings there are absolutely tracking in terms of face to path numbers, shot shape. The only difference is one's at 84 miles an hour, first one's at 86.
Yeah.
So, but what it shows is it gives you that 3-4 mile an hour progression in club speed. The more you trust it and just start to turn through the line, the club's still there. That's when it's there for you. If you get a little bit off and rein it and get out of sync, then it's going to be, you know, you can kind of flick those around and make them work.
Yeah.
That you can swing and they'll work for you,
yeah.
rather than kind of clip it away.
Yeah.
But without having to stand up there and, you know, get on the steroids and give it.
Yeah.
So much prefer where that is, because I think what it gives you is something to say, right, that will help you as your game moves forwards. Those are just going to get better and better and better.
Right.
But at the start are going to be slightly, there, I mean, to put into context, if you don't necessarily have to hit one with it, but just that difference in weight there.
Yeah.
It's
you notice the difference massively.
It's not chalk and cheese, but it's a tangible change.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of shows you those where you've almost got to back off and clip it, whereas these you've got to commit to and make a full swing at. doesn't mean you've got to smash everything, but as you get more efficient with it, you'll then have that ability just to rein it back, control it, flight it. Whereas those have got to be, you've got to play a shot the whole time because the club's not letting you just keep going with the swing.
Yeah.
So certainly very happy. I'm going to have a little fiddle around with head weight. Certainly very happy with where we are on the shaft.
It's really noticeable, the difference in them two, though. Massively.
Let's see what the raw weight difference is on those two. So if I just measure the total weight, so we're at 417 there. 433. So 15, 16 grams. So hence sort of 110-ish, just over 120.
Right.
Say 122, 123. So it's a pretty, it's a, I'd say you got a 10% change in shaft weight. So it's probably a good thing that it's now with where your swing's at, because there's going to be a noticeable difference. If there's kind of further back down the line, it would have been a real fine tune, and then actually almost sort of it would have been a little bit premature in making the change, because it wouldn't give you that extra growth into it.
Yeah.
So. I'm going to push the head weight up to the point it gets a little bit heavy. Just going to exaggerate that a little bit more.
Yeah, that felt nice though. That felt really good.
There we go. Contact's great. Quality of strike's really nice.
Thank you.
You can kind of hear it's a deep, gutsy sound to it. Yeah. Okay, see one more there. Take it, and then I'll take a little weight off. So I'm going to watch from a different angle. Okay,
That feels nice, because I can feel like I can get behind it a bit more and give it a bit more.
Let's take that back off. Fine tune. I'm going to put half of that back on again. So this is just me kind of seeing how each swing reacts to it. So this is equivalent to what you were doing with your lead tape, just fiddling around.
Yeah,
and
this
just
is it.
seeing how it settles and beds in.
Bit of a bad swing.
Yeah, probably just whilst you do that, I'm just going to do one other check whilst you do this. Just sort of two in one go. Just have a look at line. We'll do this as well. It's interesting. I think the head weight, the swing weight bit of it is that's where we can almost sort of, for want of a better phrase, play it slightly safe to start with, and ramp it up a little bit as you get more used to them.
Yeah.
You start to get used to having the extra weight there, because you can. It's probably going to be a swing weight point change over time. We're looking at these sort of variables are kind of a half a point or so, point maximum.
Yeah.
Where we're taking the shaft weight up, initially it's going to be safer, if that's all right, to not go overly head heavy, but that's as easy to adjust.
Yeah.
That's a little line.
Sorry.
That's all right, we'll do it. Little line on the ball, if I can remember which side I put on. Yeah, just to measure the lie on there. But the head weight, the swing weight, as you bed in the swing and the timing, get used to the weight, that's easy to just bring up a little bit to match over time. Yeah, because I think right now I'll do Okay, so that's just, so looking, I'll do one more and I'll show camera what we're looking at. So let's just check. I'm going to take that extra little bit. I think right now I would err towards not pushing head weight too far.
Okay.
And so we're making quite a big change on, quite a decent proportionate change on raw weight.
Yeah.
And I think if we push head weight too much, then that's the bit that's going to ask you to get it probably a bit too spot on straight away.
Right, okay.
But as I say, that's just a case of keeping a bit of tabs on how solid the strike feels, just kind of a bit of a cross-reference every couple of months or so, just to make sure that as you bed the swing in, that the clubs are still there for you. But it's a real fine-tune as we go. Yeah, so take the weight off. It's
that little
better.
weight, that tiny bit there.
Yeah. Yeah, so lie's very easy. So what I was doing, putting a line on the ball, which shows us how the ball and the club face are interacting. So if that was pointing towards the toe, means the club's coming in too upright, pointing towards the heel, too flat. That is about as pure as straight up as it gets. So that lie. So I'll just measure to make sure, and we'll have a look at some club heads as well. So a little flatter than standard, so
Okay.
60 degree lie. Lie's one of those things, I mean, standard varies model to model, brand to brand.
Yeah.
So it's went from, we would always attempt standard as being sort of 61 and a half on a 6-iron. On a lot of models it's 62, no, 62 and a half. But on the more players end, it flattens off a little bit more, gets back to 61 and a half, 62. So that one's at 60. So about 1.5 degrees. It technically is 2 degrees flatter than a lot of standards, although that makes it sound flatter than it is.
Right.
Lie's one of those things, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's whatever produces, we don't need to use the lie to try and gear the shape to correct an issue.
Yeah.
You're doing that with your technique. So, and your delivery is very, very neutral. So it's really a case of, I'm going to match that swing weight, sorry, cross-reference that. It's really a case of just matching how you deliver the club. We don't want to influence anything with it. So you tend to find the better the dynamics in terms of more rotation based, the better the delivery line the player. Actually a little flatter than standard tends to be the norm for technically the most proficient swings now. Because you haven't got that lateral move and then a correction with the hands that puts the toe down. It's more rotation and lower hands.
Right.
So hence flatter than standard is the norm for the sort of technically more orthodox move. So,
Right.
so we're going to match the loft and lie on this, so it's giving us exactly the same as that. Yeah, the interesting bit, I think we can don't want to push loft and things too far. Yes, we do need to maintain a little bit of flight, but that's where the kind of ball conversation comes into it. You could gain a little bit of flight and spin using Pro V1 X versus Pro V1. That'll pick up a few hundred revs of spin. It's designed to launch it a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So, you're never going to be a high ball hitter. Right. So, I mean, that kind of flight is, say great if you go to Hailing Island. Not quite so wonderful for, if you go and play the West Course or Wentworth, trying to land it on the greens over the water. So, on balance, I would certainly err to giving you a ball that naturally picks the flight up a little bit more.
Okay.
For irons, we'll see when we get to the top end of the bag.
Yeah.
But if we're kind of constantly trying to make sure that we've got the best flight in the longer irons, then we need a ball that's just going to help pick it up a little bit.
Get it up in the air, yeah.
So if you're in tight list, that'll be Pro V1 X.
Right.
Yeah. But it will feel firmer.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit clickier. So once we've done the head bits, we'll make that switch as well and see what it does.
I'm pretty open as well, like to any sort of like ball change. It doesn't have to be tight list. It can be if there is you think a better recommendation or one that I'm happy to try it.
Got it. So go on to the T100. So this has got a bit more tungsten in the sole.
Yeah.
And as a head, even the groove pattern in the long runs is designed to keep a bit more flight and spin on it.
Yeah.
So actually what we're seeing there is immediately, it's only 100 revs on spin, but the launch angle's just picked up 14.5 rather than 13.5. So
Yeah.
that heavier, deeper not heavier CG, deeper CG with the tungsten in the sole has just helped to flight that up a little bit more.
It feels a lot nicer. Just that one out the centre just felt. Yeah.
Yeah, and with that you've got tungsten either side of the strike point, which will make it feel like the head wants to stay stable a little bit more through. In fact, it is a more forgiving head.
Sink there. But still, it's not majorly out of.
Yeah, and that's the one initially. So by pushing that shaft up that notch, that's the one that if you get a bit off, that's the likely miss.
Right.
And that's just where you can get away with those and flip the toe and square it up.
Yeah.
If your mechanics get off a little bit, then it's just going to get a little overplane, little that way, and open the face up. As it drops and shallows in, you can keep rotating around, and then it'll square off. So. Contact, lovely strike. Yeah, just turn the face down.
It's a
So
little bit closed,
just got that drawn back in, so made sure you squared up, and that's just brought the flight back down again. But there's good efficiency off of that. I mean, one of the things I'd probably, it's interesting. I think there aren't that many heads that are designed to retain a bit of flight. I'm going to get ahead to see what it does to trajectory, but we'll also see what kind of the feedback, what your feel of the head's like.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what it does to flight, but also how whether you enjoy hitting it or not.
Yeah. Left-handed.
Yeah.
Left-handed cobra.
Yeah. So, because part of it is with your kind of covered position in the shorter irons, that's where, don't have to, but you'll get the most solid feel out of a head like the CBs or the MBs, and your impact position actually works for it because the centre of gravity is higher, it's on the back of the ball. Whereas in the longer irons, we want that CG deeper to get to the bottom to flight it up.
Yeah.
Something like the T100, so it's not got a lighter face in it, so it's not perimeter weighted in that way.
Yeah.
It's just got a bit of extra tungsten in the bottom part.
Right.
This one's got a slightly lighter face material designed to, it will sound and feel fairly different, but you might lose a bit of that kind of solid feel in the shorter irons with it as well. So there's, in principle, the less tech, the fewer materials in the head, the more consistent the result off it.
Right.
So I think the comment you made earlier about distance control with the blades is more down to quality of strike, and then if you've rotated the face in where the spin goes with it, because there's nothing about those heads that's going to produce, other than a centre strike and off-centre strike, variable ball speeds or spins or anything. But from a feel point of view, those sort of heads, the CBs, the MBs, are going to feel the most solid in the shorter irons, and in principle give you the most consistency of distance and spin control, the shorter irons as well. So where ball striking for you is just not an issue. It's not to say that don't go a T100 or something like that, because it's not like it's got a fast face designed to create distance.
Yeah.
But depending on what field you like in the shorter irons, you could quite feasibly create a split set to get the best of both worlds, and create a little more flight in the longer irons, and then say, for example, from 7-iron down, go a little bit more solid feeling, and it's what a lot of the tour guys are doing now.
Because I had a split set initially to start with, and that was with these. I had the that was a 7, I think it was, in the muscle backs, and then I had the old, I think it was the 2019 T200s.
Okay,
I had that, and I didn't like the.
Yeah, it's quite a big split on those.
Yeah, and that was kind of the bit really. Was I think as well, I didn't like the I didn't like the T200s, how they looked. Like I don't really like too much offset in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and with that sort of split, you say it's quite a big.
Yeah, big way.
The kind of separation in the head, so from a construction point of view as well. So something like a CB T100, perfectly doable.
Right.
Because you've got a single piece head and then pretty much a single piece head with a bit of tungsten rather than that faster face hollowed out cavity. So you're not going from the hard clicky, fast faced sound with a completely different loft to then a kind of a blade style head with the shorter irons. That's more of a kind of gradual progression. But again, this is a confidence thing. If you're more comfortable playing the same head all the way through, then there are an awful lot of tour players playing a T100.
Yeah.
No, it's not exactly the worst thing in the world either. So it's kind of 50% theory, 50% practice on that, because again, you've got to trust and look forward to using them.
Right.
So.
That felt really nice. I've never been a fan of ping. I was looking at it and a little bit of me was just like, oh. But it actually felt really nice.
Probably feel a little more forgiving. And so what they've done with that it's not overly clicky. It's going to have a little bit more click to it because it's got that sort of lighter, well, we can call it plastic, but elastomer back, thinner back to it, which does change the note. But they've saved by going to that, save 20 grams in the back.
Right.
So again, a little more weight, heel and toe with the tungsten toe weight and the hosel plug.
Yeah.
Which again just drags that centre mass. Yeah. The centre mass drags the mass either side. Yeah. Again, it's going to feel very stable, very consistent through the ball, very forgiving.
Just a quick question. I've always wondered this: the notch in the
bending lie.
Right.
Or to aid, or a little bit of. It's partly they claim a little bit of turf interaction, so the hosel doesn't get grabbed as much.
Right. Okay.
But it also helps just bend it a little bit.
Right. Okay. Always been curious of that.
Sometimes things just become a signature of a brand as well. They did it in models past, and so they kind of continue it on.
Yeah.
So what's interesting, it's a little bit lower spin than the T100.
Yeah.
So ball speed efficiency, same kind of thing, but the spin's down about 500 revs, so quite a bit. Quite a bit. Yeah. So it's again, you can redeem most of that with. You could probably squeeze another degree onto it, ball change, but you can get it even more with the T100 and the ball change as well. Yeah. So if flight in the longer irons is the priority, then that's just taking a bit of spin off, which takes us slightly away from where we can get to with the Titleist.
Right, okay, yeah.
So I'd probably err to that for that reason as well. So
they do feel, I'm actually really surprised, because I think obviously the last time I played pings was like 15 years ago. That was the last time I actually tried pings.
Right.
And I've never really been a big. I think it's the sound of it. It's the things. Like one of the guys who play that's the G45.
Yeah.
Just the sound. It looks lovely looking.
Yeah, and those have got, because they've taken that thinner face, lighter face a bit further, hollowed out again, deeper back. They're designed to sound harder, to feel fast off the face. So a bit of it's that, and so construction-wise, a bit of a ping being cast company, that creates a different sound to Titleist Mizuno being forged. And whilst it's just the way that the metal is formed, it creates a sound is feel. It creates a feedback, and so you're either someone who likes that clickier, harder, faster sound, or if you've grown up playing, I grew up playing forged blades. If it worked really well and I was earning a living playing, I would stomach it. Yeah. But I don't. I'm playing for fun, so I just don't enjoy using it as much. And it's not a comment on the performance. It's just what I like to get back to. Yeah. So I get one other head there. And to be honest, I think what we'll find, because of how they're designed to play, flight-wise, I'm not sure we're going to beat the T100s.
I'm kind of quite glad, to be fair, though, because
Is this to quote a ITV program? Is it turf or happy place kind of thing?
Yeah. They're really like just a beautiful looking club as well. I think it has to, like feel, sound, all these kind of things, and look is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Because I really like the pings, but I just don't think I could have them in my bag. I don't think I'd look into my bag and go, "Oh, they look well nice." Then I'd be like, "Yeah, they're all right, but they play well."
You want to be more.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You want to look at your clubs and get really excited about it, and you want to polish them, clean them, and look after them and stuff like that. And I just feel like them pings just wouldn't give me that.
Yeah. It's really important.
Yeah.
It is really important. It's not. It's something that sounds really kind of. Sounds a bit epic, sounds a bit stupid or something, but it's not. As I say, we play for fun, and part of that fun is that, is looking at your bag going, that's a really nice set of clubs, I can't wait to go and play them, rather than, I know they're going to work, I wish I got some Titleist.
Yeah, that's it.
It's, if you weren't having to pay for them, then fine.
Yeah.
But you are. So
Yeah, that's it, obviously, yeah.
Unless Titleist decides they want to sponsor your set.
Oh, I'd like that.
If they're listening, I'm sure you wouldn't mind.
I've tag her in every post.
But yeah, it's really important. It's all part of the to sound a bit the experience of if you work hard and your downtime is on the golf course and you want to enjoy it, and part of that is that I can't wait to use these clubs.
Yeah.
So
this is the first time I've ever used Mizunos as well. I've been wanting to for a while actually, because I think I've heard like people say like everyone should have at least own a set of like Mizunos once in their life. So I'm not sure this might be the one maybe.
Romeo.
Yeah.
I was trying to think whether I had a set of Mizuno Tezoid Trues. Yeah, so back to that softer sound. So what you've got with that head is a little bit of a progression on the tech. It's got the face tech, a bit like the i230. It's got in the 7-iron up a little bit of face tech, which helps. So ball speed is just, that efficiency's just jumped up. Right. Now, that's not necessarily what we're trying to achieve with it, but it can help to keep the distance gaps going into the longer irons. Because it's there's a copper layer in it, that helps to soften the sound down and give that traditional Mizuno feel. Yeah. So you get a little bit of the tech without the hardness off the face.
They felt lovely. They felt really nice. Like I actually kind of off that, just that one hit alone, they actually feel a bit nicer than personally than the T100.
Yeah.
Yeah, they feel really nice. Yeah. Really, really nice.
Okay. So yeah, so efficiency's up, flight's back down a little bit.
Right.
And the base lofts on these are a little bit stronger, so we're having to weaken them off to get up to the loft we need to get to.
Okay.
Whereas the Titleists are pretty much on that as standard.
Right.
But they are really nice.
They are really nice, yeah. They just feel just slightly softer. I think that's what they feel more like when I get my MB at the centre, that's what they feel like.
So with the T100s, that tungsten in the bottom, that's kind of where you get a little bit of a harder note off the head, a little bit harder feel, because of the way that the vibration, the way that the multi-material bit interacts and sounds and feels as a result. Now there's a little bit of tungsten in the bottom of these, but not as much. It's not as prominent.
Right.
So.
A bit off there, but.
So if we're prioritising ball flight, the Titleist flighted up more. That one's going to give you a bit more margin of error because of the thinner face. That's maintaining ball speed a little bit more. Even the off-centre one, you've got a 144 efficiency. You're at 148 with the cleaner hits. So that's from 144 with the Titleist. Yeah. But from a picture flight point of view, it's half a degree. Again, it's another 400 revs lower spin. Half a degree on. It's not massive on launch angle. If we look at height and land angle, it's best part of a couple of degrees less land. It still peaks close to the same height, but it's coming in shallower because of the spin being a little bit lower. So 38-degree land angle versus 39.9. In a perfectly ideal world, we'd be near a 45. Now, this is something that probably is, with what you're doing with Lewis, you'll be able to develop a little bit more launch angle through just softening off that shaft lean a little bit.
Okay.
Angle attacks. It's not really steep, but it's a little on the steeper side, sort of 6 degrees. So there's a little bit that, from a swing development point of view, you can just pick that up a little bit more. Right. But you're naturally going to be a little bit of a lower ball hitter because that's where you've been your whole playing life.
Yeah.
And with that impact position, that brings that flight down. So it's, you can see, similar shot pattern. That's just with the shaft. The good hits a square, the miss is a little bit right. But it's, if we were trying to get you hitting it as far as possible or maximise forgiveness, those give you a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
T100's a little bit less forgiving.
Yeah.
But it's giving you a little bit more flight.
And you think as well with a ball change to like a.
Yeah, let me put a. Wouldn't be interesting with that. Let's put a preview on X down. Just see. Let's see how much difference you see with that. Because it's designed to be a little higher launching, a little higher spinning. So you can hear that little bit harder sound.
Yeah.
Let's just we'll do one where that's got a calculation for some reason. So actually, make sure I put the right ball down there, is it?
Probably on X, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be right. It's not one of the RCTs. Sorry, my bad.
That's right.
There we go. That'll be why it didn't give us that measure. Not vast, square it up so a little bit. I won't keep so. We're going to do one more just to see. That one got very, very square and actually pulled that back down again. So we'll just see. I think it might be that the head's going to make a bigger difference than the ball.
Right.
Swing.
That was nice.
Yeah, I'll pop the tightness back on. That's basically not done a thing.
Right. Destined to be a low flyer.
In the main, it's probably, for a mid to higher speed player, for over here, if we were in the States, then we'd want to see you hitting a higher launch. That's why I seem like Rory's so good in the States, because it's coming in down with ice on it. But over here, where we've got more variable conditions, and if you're hitting at the distance you are, you're not hitting a long iron in very often other than the par 5. You can afford to have a little bit of a stronger flight, and it also means in wind it's going to be a little more stable. You're not going to be as affected as much. So it sort of facilitates a bit more flight stability. Yeah, you're 400, 500, 600 revs higher spin with that head. Which I think, with where your natural flight is, I think is more important. Certainly from a cold, looking at numbers point of view, where I'm not the one hitting it, immediately that's in a better window for spin.
I just think as well, looking at that flight there, actually it looks nicer. It feels.
Well, I should hope so. It's deviated about a foot. But it's I think where your tendency is to be on top and cover it. We don't want a head that's going to bring it down. Right. We want a head that's going to encourage a little bit more lift and flight, versus whilst feels great, But if you get the one that sort of goes 4-2 on spin rather than
Yeah.
4-8, then you get a firm green, so that's not stopping very easily. So at least that one's getting, that one's up at kind of, again, pushing the 40-degree land angle. And if you can get from 6 to kind of 5 on the angle attack, if that's showing out, if you can start to work under it or just deliver it, just reduce the shaft lean a touch, then you can start to get, instead of 75 feet, you can get up to 85, 90 feet, 42, 43 land angle. And then it's just going to be a slightly more reliable total distance in various conditions. However, I'd rather see you hitting it like that and a bit on the low side than 100 feet in the air and all over the place. But I think a T100, particularly for that upper half of the irons, I think the question mark would be whether you'd want to take that. There's no downside performance-wise from taking a T100 all the way through, or if you want the sort of feel that you've got in these, you can very easy, because of the lofts, blend them with a blade and a short iron if you want that feel. The CB or blade, there's actually, performance-wise, there's so little in it. There's very little CG move. Technically, slightly lower CG, slightly more forgiveness, slightly more flight out of the CBs to the blades, but not a lot.
Yeah, I think I'd be more inclined to keep like just a full.
Than one feedback.
Yeah, because I think it's just the difference in feel, the kind of the look. I think it's just nice looking down at everything, looking the same. You know, there's the top line being the same, the offset being the same, sort of thing, stuff like that. So
cool.
Winner.
So I mean, iron shot. I don't think we need to go. I think we need to go longer. One of the things that we can always do at the bottom end is just, I think, kind of mid upper end of the set. A little bit longer is fine. We can always, if you want, as we get into the wedges, we'll have a look at it a bit later on. But in terms of how you want to be stood at the ball, you don't have to go standard progression in length. We can taper it a little bit so that the shorter irons stay slightly longer. That's always doable. But I think upper end of the set, ironically, if we go longer, we might bring the flight down a little bit. So I don't really want to do that. I want to make it easy to get underneath and flight it up. So shorter shaft length will help with that a little bit. So. So iron-wise, it's a head-wise a bit of a fine-tune, just a bit more weight spread, deeper CG, a little more flight, and so the face is designed to retain spin on the longer irons, so that's certainly going to help, and just a shaft that lets you make that swing and it not want to go left. Really, that's it. Again, structurally a little more stable. It's going to feel a little tighter, but give you something that you can commit to and you can take forward with. But iron play is great. It's really nice. Iron play. It's makes it much more enjoyable watching that kind of hearing that kind of strike and things. But I mean, I think head wise, I mean, the once we work the top end down, we'll look at that top end. I mean, obviously, 4 iron for you, absolutely, and I'd be. Looking at where you're striking that, I'd be disinclined to take it to a different head, because again, what you don't want is that. Don't want to use too much face and lose spin. I want to retain that spin. If we go to a construction with a little bit more tech in it, we're going to lose the spin. So, but we need a head that's going to keep that flight on. And any thinner face or any more tech we get in, as we saw with the 223, is just going to bring that spin down, which we really don't need to do. So I think 4-through pitch in the T100 is definitely a good way to go.
Perfect.
So a little longer, a little heavier.
Decent.
Grip type and size we'll look at when we do the whole lot, because that can be a constant all the way through. Any questions on the iron side?
No, I'm actually I'm pretty happy with all of that. Yeah, pretty happy.
Lovely. Right.
Happy, actually. That was nice.
Right.
I think there is one thing when we're now getting we get into the
we're going to go top and then work away down.
I found that I really like actually hybrids. I used a hybrid the other day, and I found that better than my 2 iron and my 5 wood. Because I felt like with my 2 iron, all that does is just goes low. It's great in the summer and it's brilliant, and all that does is go low. And then my 5 wood, that only goes high, and I don't have that playability with it. But then I used a TSI 3 hybrid. And I had that workability. If I wanted to play it low, I can. If I want to play it high, I can. And if I wanted to shape it, I could.
Yeah.
And that was what I don't have with the 5 wood and the 2 iron at that sort of range.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 iron for you, I mean, the way I heard it described amusingly once was it'll run like an unfortunate cat.
Yeah.
But in where your flight, it's going to be, it's just going to come out that height.
Yeah,
Go
always.
forever when the fairways are firm. If it's blowing a hoolie, it's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely useless anywhere else.
Yeah.
Off a tee, cannon.
Yeah,
Low
I
spin
don't like
bomb.
hitting it off the deck.
But off the deck, it might, there would be some rabbits in danger.
Yes,
What the fairway does, because you're on top of it, hit down on it, you're an iron player's action. So you squeeze it and cover it. What can happen with 5 wood is just getting a little bit of variability on spin, because as you move the centre of gravity back from the face, as you add loft, the more that, if you hit down it, the more that weight's cutting under. So if you happen to get in the right position, it'll come out fairly strong and bomb. You get it slightly wrong and open the face a little bit, it's it's just ballooning, because that kind of sides across the back. Right. So what the hybrid does is it gives you a more forgiving head, and a head that launches a bit more relative loft than your 2 iron, but a head that you can play like an iron.
Yes.
And so for you, I can certainly see where that ties in pretty well. I say in terms of flight-wise, a 5 wood's going to give you maximum height, maximum stopping power.
Yeah.
But we don't play in Arizona.
Yes.
So that hybrid, kind of makes sense that would hit. Sounds obvious based on what it does, but that halfway house of a bit of the best of both worlds. More forgiveness, more flight than your 2 iron, and much more playability, but not the extremity of flight that the 5 wood's going to give you. So I'll pop them back just as a start. I'll pop them back to the Pro V as a start point. Tee height, let me know height-wise. I can go lower or higher. So this one as a head, I mean, as a club generally, is this one that was, I guess, how structured was this one? Or was it a case of, I like the Titleist heads, I'll have one of them?
I like the look of the Titleist drivers and things like that, and the feel of it. I've tried the Stealth. I don't like that. It's just too dead off the face for me. I like what I like about this is it's got that explosive feel when you strike it at the centre. You just feel that pop and that drive from it. It's a bit of a love-hate relationship. I think it's more the hate is that I don't classify myself as a very good driver. I'm more of a better iron player. And if I can, I will always probably play an iron off the tee rather than a drive. But when I do get it right, this is lovely. Yeah. And that's what I do. I do like this one. So sticking with the TSI, or even maybe this head, if it's the right loft and maybe a different shaft, that would be option. But
I mean TSI2 very consistent. So TSR is actually a little bit lower spin than this one. Very stable, but a little bit flatter flight. TSI2 is where it was very strong was for left-right dispersion and mid spin. It's interesting what you say about irons and driver, because you have that shaft lean, trappy angle attack. Henrik Stenson.
Right.
It's why he's got that very, very strong, kind of shaft forward delivery. Amazing with a strong 3 wood, because the smaller head you can trap and squeeze and it works. The driver has a little bit of spray to it. So if you get de-lofted and shaft lean with a driver, drivers don't like that very much. So again, it kind of makes you look at a Lathable Tiger. Tiger is a little bit, not great with the driver. This is relative to his ridiculous ability. But you get the likes, a Lathable very much covered and on top of it. Moment they went away from the wooden woods, where they were, or the small metal woods, became an awful driverable. Because the centre of gravity moved back, which doesn't suit that kind of delivery. So Stenson, so the real kind of, those are the two that you look and go, well, they were so good at the rest of the bag. Why couldn't they hit a driver as well proportionally? And is that de-loft?
Right. Okay.
So that does track through where your swing's at as well.
Right. Okay.
Is there anything you consciously do differently with the swing with the driver?
I try to get even more shallow. I think that's what I try and focus on. I think as well, it's just kind of, I have to really focus on my posture and my setup. Because I feel like a lot of the time with it, I instead of getting it on that up, I do very much come through and try to drive down,
Yeah.
and it's differentiating the swing between my irons and my wood, and that's what I find a little bit more difficult. So,
Got it.
happy with that. That's all right.
Yeah.
But like you said, I can see it's still very driven low. That's
It's
my
not-
typical sort of.
It's not really low. It's strong,
Yeah.
mid to strong, but it's not crazy low.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think I've got this set at
Standard.
standard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
A1,
10.
yeah.
Yeah.
Little toey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes my biggest issue with my driver is that I get a little kind of like here
Okay.
and not sort of keeping that foot. I just feel like if I have this a bit more planted down, that it generally helps my swing a bit better. I think that's
Yeah,
kind
it'll give you space. So if you get
Yeah.
same thing, I've always had. Yeah, it's very similar to you were saying earlier. I've always moved that way, and then
Yeah.
blocked in there. And if you do that, you've got no space. So you
Yeah.
can keep that. So kind of look, I'm trying to stay there. Keep that foot down as I push back up, which gives you space to drop it in. So
Yeah.
that, along with that sort of slightly shallowing, that's going to create you much more room to shallow out and collect it.
Right.
So I know that because it's exactly what I'm doing. Except I hook the bejesus out of it, get it right. Okay, so a little bit heely, so it's geared it off. Actually, swing line very neutral. Okay, I'll give it one more. Then. So this is where we know that you're an experienced golfer because you're being very good at talking yourself down. People are probably watching this going, "What is the problem with his driver?"
Yeah. Well, for me, that I don't like that. I think it's just like maybe I think it's your perception of stuff. People don't realise that that's not actually a bad miss.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
people
yeah.
don't realise that. They think that's a really bad shot. And until you start looking at like data from other people and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that one. I mean that's actually it's heel strike that's done that. So path half a degree from in to out and face to path 0.8 of a degree open.
Right.
But it's gone right because strike's a little on the heel, so it's geared it that way.
Right, okay.
So actually delivery very very neutral, and it's only drifted to the right side of the fairway because of a slight inside strike.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah. So one more that'd be good. Good hit, one. Good hit. Little lower that one, but good hit. Okay. So one of the things that, based on where your irons are and angle of attack and things, I was expecting to see the angle of attack more downward than that. No, so it's only at 1.5 degrees.
Yeah.
So yes, optimally we want it flat or a little bit up.
Yeah.
But actually at 1.5, because you're very neutral on your delivery line, that's fine.
Yeah.
So it's not got a down and a glance across, which then creates bucket loads of spin.
Yeah.
It's neutral and slightly squeezed. So yes, it pulls launch angle down a little bit, and retains a bit of spin, but it's only a bit. So actually, you're kind of those ones that 10 launch and 2.5. I'm just going to go back onto that other screen, and if I pick that one, from a flight point of view, well, if I put it on total, that's a pretty good flight.
Yeah.
So based on a slightly squeezed angle of attack. Now, yes, shallow it out a little more. If you can get it closer to zero, you'll pick up a little bit more launch angle without adding spin. So that will help you get a little bit more carry out of it.
Yeah.
It's not in a bad place. Certainly the head's performing well. From a flight point of view, it makes it fairly, it's a very safe head from a trajectory point of view because it's not a silly low spin head.
Yeah.
That's where potentially TaylorMade have historically always been a low spin head. So you could get the odd one that wants to just nosedive, particularly if you get it a little toe side. So the second shot which screen James has got on there, but the second shot up, where the one above the one that's highlighted in green, that got a little toey, so it's one below that one, yeah. So it's on 1600 spin, but it's only the toe strike that's done that.
Yeah.
The rest are actually, when you get the flight into the double digits, 10, 10.5 launch, 2.5's a very, it's a kind of spin rate a lot of the tour guys would go to.
Okay.
If you're looking to bomb one, then if you could get launch up to 11.5, 12 and spin it at 2.2,
Yeah.
then you're going to carry it and then run out.
Yeah.
But 2.5's absolutely fine on spin, and so it's very safe. You're at 2.75 on average for those hits. We'll want more distance, but we're not. It's not like we've got a shortage of it. So again, if we kind of prioritise one thing, I'd rather keep the flight there and make sure you've got a really reliable club than get it bombing, lose 400, 500, 600 revs of spin, and then find that it falls out the sky and.
Right.
If it doesn't quite flight, then
Yeah.
you're in a bunker that you should be carrying about 20 yards.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad flight. I think, again, bit like the irons, one of the things I want to look at, I can just see in takeaway, I can kind of see it go a little bit that way. So there's a tendency just to pick up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a massive exaggeration of it.
Yeah.
So again, does going a little heavier, it's at 64, 34 grams. Does getting a little bit more weighted to help the club to take you back through,
Okay.
drop it in shallow out versus
Yeah.
get it up and then have to drop it back in.
Right, okay.
So if the club can stay in the slot on the way back, you haven't got to reroute it as much.
Okay.
And there just looks a little bit of that to me. I think head's certainly in a good place. I don't
Yeah.
see where, considering where your ball speed is, the efficiency,
Yeah.
the launch to spin, certainly do the testing with this head. You'd be looking at a lot of cost and not a vast amount of benefit.
Yeah.
And so trajectory's in a good place at the
Yeah.
moment. So I'd be surprised if we found a head where we went, oh wow, that's worth another
Yeah.
450, 500 quid.
Yeah.
You never know, but
Yeah.
you might do. But I'll initially do a bit of testing. So I want to just up the structural strength of the shaft a little bit.
Okay.
But like we did with the irons, just push the shaft weight up to see if it can help the club stay in plane for you a little bit more, which that'll let you. I don't think it looks like you're kind of steering it, but it doesn't look like you're unwinding on it quite the way I think
Yeah.
you can. So
I just feel like I've kind of programmed myself now to always kind of be that to smooth.
Yeah.
Because I find the moment I try and start ripping it,
Yeah.
it goes wild. But then
Yeah.
there'll be times when we'll be up at the range and have a long drive, and I'm doing the most outrageous swings that I can, and I'm
Yeah.
puring it. It's one of them. Like it's just it.
yeah, it's the difference between. So I guess it's the difference between hitting at it
Yeah.
and generating speed.
Yeah.
So I think you can generate more speed without having to kind of burst a blood vessel or without throwing your swing shape off. I think if we can let you kind of let the swing go a little bit more, if the club can help keep everything on line, then that's going to allow you just to unload a bit
Yeah.
more and just point and shoot rather than
Yeah.
point, shoot, steer a little bit and hope.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't think it's going to be vast. I think probably 5, 6 grams, 10% or so.
Right, okay.
I'll push it up to the top end of that first.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that can help you commit a little more.
Perfect. What info have we got there? It's all exciting when you come back over with stuff because I'm just a bit like, oh, what's this?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I'm pushing it up to 70 grams. So I want to find. Let's find top out
Okay.
fairly quickly. There's no point going in 2-3 gram increments.
Yeah.
So I don't want, a bit like with the iron shafts, I don't want to overly influence balance point, but I do want to give you a little bit more weight. So.
Because I've not long recently actually changed to that shaft. I had a 55
Okay.
in it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the fairway woods. I must say, yeah.
I'm not. So
Well,
that
I'm
three-
not surprised you're not with those in there.
Yeah, the 3 wood, I just find it horrid. It's
Yeah.
so bad, and I don't like the look of it. I don't like. It was just kind of that. It was. I bought the driver 5-wood, and then when I went to the 2-iron, I was like, well, I'm not sure what 3-wood I'll play. I'll just get a cheap one just for now, just to see, like, if I like the idea of a 3-wood in the bag. And I chose this one because it was just a bit cheap, and I'm just not overly that keen.
Yeah, I mean, so based on everything we've done, it's light and not a lot of feel for the head. Now, granted, we're not head heavy, but we're on the stronger side, weight-wise, with a bit of feel for the head.
Right.
So it's not one of those, it couldn't be further from what we want to do, but it's not exactly close.
Right. Wow, I felt like I can get behind that now. A lot, like I feel like I can get it felt fast. I don't know if it is faster.
Well, it's not, well, considering we've up weight by, not a million miles off 10 grams, it's not slower. And, it's not really stuck in. So. Okay, let me just pull that back down a little bit, just a little bit. I think that's very much top end.
Top end.
Don't want to push it any more than that.
That feels really nice though. It does feel like kind of the. I like the look of it as well. It's quite very different. It's a bit sporty. You know what I mean? That's
Is that the colour combinations or more just sort of logos?
I think it's just the kind of the logos and things like that. Normally, I like stuff that's quite minimalist.
Okay.
But with that one, it's quite nice. I actually quite like the colourway and the design of it as well. It's really nice.
That's sporty.
Yeah. That's the only way I could describe it, really.
Well, it's called Speeder. So. Yeah, so I went that one because it's just heavier with a very, very, very neutral weight profile. So that was the one that Lewis got on rather well with.
Yeah.
The one that made his
I did actually watch that. It was
the one that made his eyes pop.
Yeah, it was quite impressive, that, to be fair.
Yeah, I was quite proud of that one.
Yeah.
It was just like unplanned, which made it even better. Okay, so just coming back down a couple of grams. So just coming just sub 70 grams on that one.
It's almost like, it looks like a still shaft, this one in there, with the...
Yeah, that sort of iron finish, shiny finish, yeah. Okay. That
nice.
Looked a little cleaner, yeah. So that just looked, you could get it just back out in front a little bit more. Okay. Still a little over. Okay, I'm just going to pull it back down a fraction more, just to see. That's slightly better than that one. I'll get that first one out of the way.
Yep. Yeah. Like that one. I don't know how I feel about the.
You can custom colour that one.
Oh, now we're talking, right? Okay. Now we're talking.
Was that a good intervention?
You've sold it. You've sold it. That's it.
Yeah.
Anything custom, I do like. I do like the bits where you can customise stuff, and that is a massive appeal to things when you can choose colourways and.
So like when we get to the wedges and the laser.
I know, yeah.
Who knew? Eh?
Who knew? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I think it originally started with kind of like the stamping, didn't it? And then it's evolved now to
Yeah,
laser
with
in.
the lasers. I mean, the hand stamping or the stamping's always been something that's been quite a fun thing to do, but it's quite limiting, really.
Yeah.
Whereas with that machine now, I mean, basically you pick an image that's not copyrighted, and you can like for that young lady who's just won out in Saudi, we did some wedges for her with the Joker and
Yeah,
Fraser
I
and things.
saw
You
them.
can do
They were
anything
awesome.
like
They
it.
were.
Little heel, so okay. Might just to dip back a little light again. Keep those ones out of the way. Yeah, so that we need a little bit more weight than that. That's hit well.
Yeah.
But you see it just get that way
Yeah.
again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the second one was the nicest so far. It feels really nice, that one.
Right. Okay. Okay. So this is just keeping that weight just a shade under 70 grams. So I mean, that's not. It's not a bad setup. It's not.
Yeah.
So it's not like say like with the fairways you're going to be possibly 20 grams off in weight. You know, so. 40% in terms of relative to current shaft weight.
Right.
You know, this one we're looking at 5. So it's
Yeah.
not like it's
Major.
a horrific setup that's stopping you using it well. I think what you're doing with your swing now is going to help driver drastically. I think that shallowing move is going to make such a big difference to how consistently you can deliver driver head where you want it. That's a major help.
Felt nice though. They've all felt,
Solid,
they've
yeah.
all felt nice.
Solid. Good ball. Better speed on that one. A little bit more ball speed. Okay, yeah, it's still that touch lighter. Okay, let's put that second one back in. Again, path's great. 1.5 into out. That was only a degree down. Just got the face shut down a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's always where with the driver. Problem with the driver is if you start to get concerned about where it's going, then we get a bit tentative, then we steer it a little bit, then it goes horribly wrong. And so actually with where your swing line is at the moment, it's very, very neutral. So from a delivery path point of view, that's in a good place. To me, it kind of looks like occasionally you get a little bit out of plane on the way down, which then throws the face off a little bit.
Right.
And that's where I think a bit more weight, but where you're working on shallowing it out, that's going to keep everything on line more and stop you having to find square with it. There we go. just free your hands up a little bit. It just looks like they're just kind of clinging on a little bit. So
As it were.
just soften hands
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
I've been told. Yeah.
Yeah. Because actually that one was less than a degree down angle of attack. You're comfortably from the inside enough. If you get a bit tight, it just tenses up and can flip
Right.
that over. Actually, you can just free up and let it extend
okay.
through. Yeah, I'd rather see you hit a slight push than that one. And
Yeah.
that flip is only from a little bit of a drag with the hands. Yeah, interesting. Just getting over a little. Okay. Okay, I'm going to make a bit of a change to that. I just want to put a bit more in the club head. I think that's possibly a little high balance still. So it's not going left because you're getting over the top on it. It's
Right.
face shutting.
Right. Okay.
But that could also be where just a little bit of a change in your posture and plane can get it a little that way coming
Yeah.
through. So that way rather than throwing it over the top. But I think that's, again, if you get a bit of tension, shot up come the shoulders.
Yeah.
Whereas from there, if I can kind of soften and drop under,
Yeah.
then you pass 3 into out, but it then just works the face under and up a little bit more, but keeps the face open a bit more.
Yeah.
But I say it's a small thing, really.
On the same shaft, on the same swing weight on it. Yeah. So I'm just looking at the same position underneath it. Yeah. What I'd expect to see here is it's a little lower lofted, so maybe a little less spin.
68, 69. So I was thinking about balance points and trying to get the dead weight and balance point right. So just thinking my way through these.
That's at 180 again, so just taking a bit of spin forward.
Okay, fraction more. I'm not going to discount the last one yet because it might be a case of just bringing head weight out a little
Right,
bit
okay.
more. Okay, better line through, just that lead tape just flicking off a little. Let's just do that.
Quite a vibrant colour, this one.
yeah. There
like
are many
it.
outfits
Yeah,
occasionally.
yeah.
I've got a heavier version out of my Fairway wood, and yeah, you inevitably get comments. Yeah, especially if you wear purple. They go, oh, right, you matched it to your outfit again.
Some nice trousers to go with it.
Better flight on that. You can definitely see a little softer in transition with those. So
Yeah.
that's just picked that flight up a little bit
Yeah.
more. Okay, I'm going to go back to the last one, weight the head up a little bit more. Then what I'll do is I'll just normalise it and go back to your current one before.
I think as well that the other one, they feel like they kind of throw me out of sync. Like that one, I just feel like I can get in that nice
Okay.
rhythm with it. Same with the silver one.
Got it. Got it. Let's go. Go a little bit more. So it looks like I'm adding tons. This is thin lead tape.
That's so you're just adding that to the toe, are you, around the toe area?
Yeah, I mean, toe side just because it's not going to come off there, but also it has the biggest effect on swing weight. So the lead tape we're using is really fine-tuning balance. It doesn't
Right.
change it. Technically, it's making it a bit more toe weighted and a bit, you could argue a bit more fade. It's not really making
You're
it
right.
fade bars. We only got about 3 grams on there. So it's, you've got to start moving 8-10 grams around to start to change CG. So it's more mass at that level. Okay. Little lower on the face?
Felt really good. Like if anything, it felt centre for me. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
just blue. Okay, that was nice.
That was really
That
nice.
very square. Okay.
I think this has been so far the.
I think that little bit more head weight with that shaft's a good thing. I think
Yeah.
if we go tip bounce with the driver, it starts to. You can see it sort of start to get a little bit out of sync, and then you wrap the toe round.
Yeah.
The previous time with it, it looked like it moved okay, but just having to find contact a little bit.
Right.
Which is why then going back to something a bit more tip balanced.
Yeah.
And then revert to that with a bit more head weight. I think it's just keeping that head weight a little more prominent than it was, but without throwing the weight down the bottom of the shaft. Yeah, that's definitely a cleaner line through the ball. Definitely.
Yeah.
Slight draw. Okay.
So I'll be happy with that.
So just
Minus it went in the bunker.
strike on that. Yeah, good
Yeah.
contact. So to just do one, downwind, send it. Just launch it up a little more. Really kind of like you got a downwind bunker to carry.
Right, okay.
Don't worry about where it goes. I'm just sort of seeing if you get that, just hit up and I mean, go path a little bit from the inside. That's great.
That's where I just feel like I always get
Yeah.
a bit toey. Oh no, sorry.
Club speed went up, which is a good thing. Okay, so just then focus, just hit up on it a little bit more.
Right.
Just a little bit more. I just want to see if you work on really kind of staying behind and rotate up where that goes. Okay, swing line. Okay. Club speed was strong with that last one. A little bit necky, but club speed was strong. Swing. Nice move. Okay. So just work the face open a little. That one you then got 1.5 up on it.
Okay.
Which is great. Okay. That's nice. Let's think. Let me just put your current one back in.
Yeah.
It's just sort of a bit of a normalised. So that in terms of swing line, that feel of angle attack, that's great.
Right.
From there, you can then unload on it,
Yeah.
and because you're hitting through the line, it's then just
Yeah.
squaring up. But it's where with the driver to irons. Irons is your natural kind
Yeah.
of comfort blanket because you
Yeah.
can get on top and squeeze it.
Yeah.
Not a lot has to change with driver. It's
Yeah.
just trusting to rotate under rather than get on top,
think
and that's where it'll feel a bit less.
Well, normally I will
comfortable.
I tee it up really high.
Okay.
I normally go for a really high tee, and I just feel like that gives me that option then to get
Yeah.
some, like a real high launch on it.
Yeah.
So I think that's. I normally wouldn't play it this low.
Okay,
But
so
I
went
actually
yeah.
like it though lower this way because I feel I can find the centre of the face better.
Got it.
So it's
Get this screwing back through there. God, I remember from when these are. It's a real small window to get the seating correctly to screw the. Come on, get in there. They're easy on the next gen because they rather than
I've done it a few
rather than
times.
pushing
It's-
through, they screw
through.
through. You get to times you think, is this actually going to go back in? I know it will. And just use a different. I've got another screw in here. I'll just see whether that seats a little bit.
So basically, I'm not attack here, so 0 would be obviously on the level of any minus 1 because you're hitting down on it ever so slightly, and then space is lying in the shot, and then potentially put up on the ball ever so slightly, and certainly
Come on. So frustrating.
It's not having it.
Doesn't like me, this one. Let's just go back to that, the one that came out of.
quite similar to where we were the irons, and then a little bit lower, so it looks to be like you hit the ball pretty straight, maybe you fade a little bit, you know, square face up. It gives you something to aim at there, so it's something to get
Damn thing. Sorry.
It's all right.
This bit would be a great watch, wouldn't it? Let's see Simon not be able to put the screw back through the head. What I'm going to do, just to test the shaft. No, thread's still okay. I'm just going to get a little bit of oil just to get it through.
How? 18 people watching then.
Oh,
You're trending.
I'm trending. Decent. Well happy. I'm just happy I've not hit any horrific shots yet. No hozzles. So doing good. I really do like this one though.
Got a few more swings left to go yet.
Yes.
You're doing all right.
Lots more swings left.
You've been through fitting process.
Never. I think I went through one fitting process when I was a junior, and it was. I remember they stuck some tape on the bottom of the sole, and they was hitting off this like plastic board, and I think that was just more of a fitting process just for checking if I needed any adjustment to my clubs, and that was kind of it really. And I've never kind of had a club fitting process and stuff. I think it's just because. I don't know what's kind of always put me off it. I think it's going to. I think it's the fact of like going to like driving ranges and things like that. It's you hear bad experiences from people, and then one person says I had a great fit here and things like that, and then it's kind of like finding the right person to trust.
It gives this process a bad reputation.
Yeah, and sometimes a lot of the time when I've heard people who have had fitting, they're never happy with what they've walked away with.
Right.
So it's trying to find someone that, like, I've always, someone that knows what they're talking about, and especially here, you definitely know what you're talking about.
It's also, so part of it is making sure someone's happy with the end result of it. And,
Yeah.
It's part of our job to make sure we ask the right questions of the person to understand their game, but it's a bit of a two-way street as well, because sometimes people will go away and say, what about this? You go, I wish I'd asked that during the fit, because we could have answered a question for them and maybe kind of check that box off as well. And that's also the key for anyone going to any fittings, ask questions, because that might prompt a slightly different thought process, or it's always better to ask 10 too many than one too few. But it's about making it it's it's a two-way process, and you're
think,
fitting
yeah.
the clubs for the person, not
Yeah.
the person for the clubs.
That's it, yeah. And I think there's always been that kind of that, you know, like worrying that they have that alliance to that brand as well, and thinking that they, you know, that they're going to be selling that to you because it's good for their business and things like that. So that's always kind of a bit, you know, like that I'm always apprehensive. I kind of want that neutral,
Yeah.
you know, that there's no favoritism in this club and that club and things like that.
So just going back to original setup, just to compare with and see how much difference we're seeing. I've changed the setting very slightly, hence the grip's on different direction.
I've got a bit high, that one.
Okay.
Feel like swing a bit more up on it.
Yeah, and that's all it needs. Half a degree up is all you need. Path's still in a great place. So.
I really don't like that now. It feels horrid, like compared to that other shaft.
okay.
It really just.
So that's what it is about 5 or 6 grams lighter.
Yeah, you just
So-
notice how light it is compared to.
I'm now going to take the screw out. At least I've got the time after this. When you're going to see Kate to get back in, so I'll put that back there. I'll get this back out again. Okay. You say it's pretty much on the 70 gram mark, just underneath. I'll just re-weight that head up. I think the thing with fitting as well is there is no one size fits all kind of approach to it.
Yeah.
It is very much, you've just got to find the results for the person who stood in front of you on the day, and that's interesting. There's a little tinkle going on there. Let's get rid of that. Something's just dropped inside the head, I think. There we go. A little bit of something coming loose.
A bit of stopping it from going in the first place.
No, I think it's just there's a little opening into the head.
Right.
So there's just actually a little bit of glue that's just come off.
Right.
So they all use a little bit of glue on the inside of the head to balance it.
Right.
So you can occasionally get a little bit of a rattle. That normally when it's cold, that's when it becomes more brittle.
Right.
That some of that drops off. A little bit of lead take off came off when you hit that, but again, going back up in weight,
Yeah, it just feels so much
if you
nicer.
can see it's a little more solid. I'm just going to
Yeah.
put that extra little bit that came off there. Fresh bit. Yeah, and so for one that's just drifted right, again, not bad on spin. And so certainly, just going to move that loft back down. I again left that slightly higher loft. Certainly from a consistency point of view, a bit like the key thing with this is going a little bit heavier, gives you a bit more to hit against. That smash 149, it's not losing you any ball speed relative,
Right.
okay, a mile an hour, but relative to the current heads. And certainly, the most important thing first up is the bit between you and the club head to get
Yeah.
that timing right.
Right.
As that settles in, if you crank the speed, you're up at 105 or one of those hits early, if you crank the speed up to there, then it might be that at that point the head and the spin profile change optimizes flight, because that may just spin a little bit more.
Right, okay.
The harder you hit it, may. But if you shallow it out, you might find it neutralises it. But so it's not in a bad place, and certainly from a hitting fairways side of things, that's still a perfectly good head.
Good.
Because the one I gave moved more efficiently. So,
Yeah. So maybe not middle, but in terms of line through, when we've gone back to that, your naught path, 0.5 face to path. See the club start to drop it and let you commit through the shot again. So it's, I guess, much like the irons. It's a much smaller proportionate change than the irons in terms of shaft weight. Is it smaller? I guess no, it's still roughly 10%, so it's a little bit less.
Yeah.
But what the lighter weight does is it means that you're almost sort of separating the head off a little bit more. That kind of evens out the mass distribution through a little bit more like the heavier iron shafts as well. So it's a bit less kind of lead ball in the end of a piece of string and be the massive exaggeration of it. Yeah, so a little bit more squeezed on it.
Yeah.
So got a bit more down on it, but it's dead straight.
Yeah.
So that one got slightly more down on the angle of attack, but your delivery line's good. And so as that sort of angle of attack shallows out, that's really where potentially a club head will then optimise those launch spin numbers a bit more.
Right.
Right now, I wouldn't want to make a change to that because I want to let that settle, and the shaft can help to bind it together and let you produce that kind of delivery line. But until we get that, we won't know for sure where that picture flight's going to come out. So there's no point doing anything with that because it could be a very expensive mistake.
Right.
But that bit tightens everything up.
Yes.
Gives you more, like the irons, gives you more to hit against.
Yeah.
And that's then going to stand up to being hit at 103, 104, 105 rather than the 102.
Yeah.
But the better you get at kind of rotating under and kind of hitting through the line there, that'll start to pick flight up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's then when, should start to pick flight up a little bit more. And that's then when head style's worth looking at. So like that one, yes, it's a little bit lower on the face. It's just squeezed out a bit lower and a bit, bit high on spin. But equally speaking, you've had shots where, no, it's the previous one, sorry, slightly right, 11 launch, 2.5 spin with a bit of a fade. Square that off, the spin comes down a little bit. So it's not in a bad place flight-wise. Yeah. But right now, I think let's get the bit that allows you to swing it the same as where we're looking at with the irons, and then look at the head once that settles in. Yeah. And they're also going to be like, TSR's just launched anyway, but we're going to get a whole raft of new heads in February anyway as well.
Yes. Right.
But I think the first bit's the shaft, and then head can follow down the line because we can, even if it's a different brand, we can swap the adapter out and switch it around. But
well, this is definitely it's sort of a lot more confidence. Like you just know, I can feel where everything is, and I really like this now. Really like the setup.
And interestingly, I think balance is pretty much. I don't know why. A physicist would tell me why, but driver and sixer are nearly always pretty much match identically on swing weight.
Really?
Don't know why. It'll be to do with levers and momentum and all that stuff, but as does that. So, literally to 0.1 of a swing weight point. So, right, fairway.
Science.
Now we'll have a look. So I'm going to do. We'll do the one you really don't like first.
Oh God! Right. Okay.
So if we're basically at 70 grams on the driver.
Yeah.
And you're at 56, 57 on the fairway wood. That would
explain a lot of
that would explain an awful lot. Yeah, and D2 and a bit on the driver and D0.5 on this one. So there's just, and we'll give it one or two, but let's say it's. I don't know, if I can't improve on like the wedge, if I can't improve on them, if I can't improve on this, then
I'll take that.
As he nukes one down the middle.
I'll take that.
Yeah. But it's one where, I mean, look, even you've got a good swing dynamics. You're going to hit shots well with it. But the problem is that you've got to do a completely different move in timing and force the club down to plane. If we left this as is I've just said, oh look, you just hit a fade in there, that's
Yeah.
fine. The problem is it's just not, because all it's going to do is make you have to swing that totally differently.
Right. It's just the same again. I can't feel anything. I have no sort of
Yeah.
feedback, and it's just kind of a bit of hit and hope.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So you can say, I was just thinking to myself, he's going to hit this dead down the line again. So you look at it and go, well, this club's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But we know how far off it is, and so there's no point. Okay, they're two very repeating shots, and the launch and spin are actually in a nice place.
Yeah.
But it's just so unaligned, misaligned to everything else.
Everything else, yeah. Because
And
normally,
I knew you'd hit that dead straight.
Yeah, I know. Normally, it's not.
What I'll do.
It's not that consistent, and I think it's just I've really got to focus on what I'm actually doing.
Yeah, and again, the more you commit through it, it's going to start to get away and flip. And so you've just controlled those very well. Two really good swings. But your tempo and timing and swing thoughts have got to be quite different.
Yeah.
I know this screw will come out much more easily. So again, I'll use this head as a marker point, and we'll take that shaft weight right up. Put that with that. So first club back from driver for you, is it predominantly in an ideal world, is it predominantly a kind of a structural, strategic teeing off club? Is it something you want to use as more of a fairway would?
Well, I think any time that I've ever wanted to kind of come one back from driver, it's been 2-iron.
Yeah.
And that's always been that bit. If I'm playing somewhere sort of like Pine Ridge, where it's fairway tree line, it's 2-iron, and that's predominantly what I will take off at my home course all the time is a 2-iron.
Yeah.
But
you're dropping a long way back.
But then that's a long way back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll go.
I think it's just a lot of it's where it's just not confidence with my 3-wood. That's the thing.
You want it to be. I mean, 3-wood. You want to be a reliable club, because if you're not hitting driver, okay, the 2-iron's reliable, but you want the 3 to be something you can stand up and feel like 8-9 times out of 10 it's in play.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? You just hit driver.
That's it.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so let's go. How far up do I want to go?
Christmas coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive Christmas, isn't it, for someone? Everyone deserves a treat every now and then, doesn't they? So. That's it, exactly that.
It's time to get them down the tube.
Hopefully. I have to unblock mine.
God, 5 weeks away.
I know, it's gone, this last bit of the year has gone so quick. So quick.
It's just, nuts. And actually, what's been interesting is how, traditionally we're getting into the time of the year where golf slows down a little bit, but it's stayed very busy.
Yeah.
It's still stayed a very busy year. So, decent bit heavier. So we're at 77, 78 grams versus your 57. So.
You really not like. Wow, that feels so different.
Yeah.
So different.
I'll see one more of that. Okay, just having to fetch the bottom end. I'm going to even the balance out a little bit more on that. That's just a little.
It's nice when you're sort of just that kind of that initial kind of like that, the waggle at the beginning. It feels really nice. It's nice that you can actually, I feel where the head is.
I mean, that lighter one again, you control it well, but it's going to want to kind of flick up a little bit. And a bit like with the driver, the heavier weight can keep it tracking back on that slightly shallower plane.
I just kind of feel with that when it gets to the bottom, it kind of, I'm here and it's a little bit stuck, and then I'm kind of like.
Yes, I'm just going to pull the weight up
Yeah.
the shaft a little bit. So not leave it quite so tip weighted. Interesting visual, this one.
Wow.
So
That's a
yeah, that's the one of the VA composites. So they're one of their sort of, as you can see there, the face there, villain. Bit of a Roy Lichtenstein.
That's definitely like an Owen Wilson wow moment there, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of similar to the old the Wham art piece. Yeah, the pop art.
That's quite cool. I like that.
So keeping the weight the same, but not as bottom end weighted.
Okay.
Okay, too much. Overdid
Change
it.
the
Yeah, overdid it completely. Yeah.
change the feel of it. Like
Yeah.
and it almost changes like the sound as well. I don't know.
Yeah, you can see just lost the bottom end and
Yeah.
dumped it before the ball, so too much change. Next, yeah. Yeah, that was just too much of a alteration. Let's rein that back a little bit.
On a down day, the head has been in a confined, damp environment for short.
So going not tip heavy without bringing the balance point too high up, so we don't want to counterbalance it, we just want it to be neutral. Shaft model Oban Revenge, the 7. So, I mean, historically been great fairway shaft. You know,
Yeah.
very, you know, very a little bit of tip response, which tends to work well in the fairway woods. Have I just pulled the right? Yeah. But not a, let's say, not a prominently balanced shaft. Very green. Okay, it might just be a little, you know, actually I'm just going to, I think it's a little heavy. I think it's just getting stuck behind. I'm just going to bring the weight down a little bit. So I think we need to stay low 70s rather than upper 70s. Because those are all, you can see them getting stuck and then having to fetch it. So, okay. Let's get that one out of the way as well then.
All the way through the rainbow.
Yeah.
Quite difficult to see that one against the.
Against the olive trousers, yeah, the olive trousers blended in with the trousers there.
Four-year-old daughter would say, "No, Daddy, that's sage."
This one's into one of the even flows, the MX, but it's a 73 gram. Even flow MX, the Riptide MX. So kind of mid-launch and spin, but it's just taking the dead weight down a little bit. So we're just over the 70 gram mark. We're taking about 5 or 6 grams off it.
Oh, look at this one.
Yeah, so Get the dead weight back down, and it's back out in front of you. And okay, yes, it's just stayed a little bit
Yeah.
right, but it's not. Previous ones just got stuck, and then you had to just fetch
Yeah.
the tip end at it.
Yeah, this one feels
So
really nice. I do like this one.
That's better. Again, it's whether we need to still kind of. So there's still a bit of feel for the lower half, but it's whether we need to shift balance point around. That's a much better dead weight, much better. Yeah, so you can see how first one was a sighter, not quite middle that, but second one you put a bit more into it, squared it off again.
Yeah.
So much like the, yeah, I'll get one trick. Much like the irons, once you've found that weight, you can commit to it.
Yeah.
There's enough there to hit against and commit to, but not one that as you turn through, drops behind you.
That felt really nice.
It's
that
15 grams heavier, so it's still pretty
Still a hell of a
noticeably
lot,
stronger. Yeah.
Really nice, that one. Really intrigued by that. I've never, a lot of these I haven't even heard of. Like, kind of, a lot of them I'm
Yeah,
still...
so that's kind of a progression on the, well, I say that's a Project X, a model, even flow series based on really smooth bend profile and progression through.
Yeah.
But that one's not one of their, you won't see, well, they've had previous iterations as stock shafts.
Yeah.
That one, not so. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of wood shafts out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's into the Motori F3. So a little bit of just bringing the balance point up a little bit, just making sure we're not failing to multitask miserably. Making sure we're not making it too hard to square the toe up.
Feels nice. I feel the other one just felt that little. I don't want to say whiskey, but just that.
Yeah.
I can't. So I was
Yeah,
explaining.
right. No, feel we've all got different. It's kind of languages to feel because we all experience it differently.
Yeah, it just
so
felt a bit dead.
that one, yeah, okay, yeah. Prefer that feeling a bit more pop to it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, it's funny the feel stuff. Because we all experience it differently.
In different ways, yeah.
It's it's sort of working out what feel you like.
Yeah.
And therefore we respond well to. But
Yeah.
if it feels good, it's probably because it works well as well.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll get a better contact.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's.
I think what I'm going through this process as well is that I feel like woods you kind of instantly know a lot more with irons than what works and what doesn't.
No better in irons than woods.
Yeah, so like
It's a simple, it is a little bit simpler. With the woods, it's a longer shaft, so it's going to be, it's harder to get the time and everything spot on, but it amplifies things a little bit more. So, small, hybrids can be a right pain in the. For some reason, they are the most sensitive to balance and weighting of anything.
Oh really? Right, I didn't know that.
But because of with woods, the length of the shaft, the acceleration rates, there's that much more momentum build up. Little differences just make more of a difference than irons. So, and shafts are shorter, so it's easier to find the middle of the face.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so straight away, a little cleaner through the ball, a little bit necky.
Yeah. But it just, I like the feel of this one.
Yeah,
I
so
feel
just on the inside of the face, so it's geared it right a little bit. It's actually faced the path less than a degree. But it's definitely finding path better for you. Again, a little out the heel.
Yeah.
So where you're now, you and the club are kind of a bit more connected. It's letting you get full extension a bit more. So you're now getting full arm length, which is just putting the strike onto the heel side a little bit.
Got ya.
So more weight, more mass, it's going to pull you out a little bit more. So just giving yourself a hair further from the ball and you'll just find centre of the face again.
Yeah.
better contact. There.
I was just a bit open, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of, almost a little bit of over manipulation there.
Right.
So
Okay.
if you so swing line path 0.4 of a degree, it's absolutely on line.
Yeah.
It's kind of just freeing it up. I think probably with, I guess it's a bit like with the iron swings. You could just let it go.
Yeah.
And that latter, when we got to went back to that spec on the driver. I think with the fairway, you're so used to having to play a shot with it that actually the concept of just stand and deliver with it.
Yeah.
It's not really in your vocabulary. with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
club.
Yeah.
So the more you can, or rather, the less you can think, the more you can just see target, swing,
At it. Yeah.
and just freewheel it a little bit more. And so that one you've got extended through a little bit better.
Yeah.
And there's your, just drawn a little bit. Still, let's just see from a, still a little bit on the inside of the face. But
Yeah.
that again, that's just, there's more weight.
Yeah.
Where you're used to standing distance-wise from the ball is now just a little bit close.
Right. Okay. This is a massive, like, I can't reiterate, this is a massive improvement from where I was with this. It would be, there was no consistent sort of pattern with it. And
it's just because there's nothing to respond to, or very little to respond to weight-wise. One, you can overpower and overwork it, but it's like, well, what did I do? You can't really. There's not a lot to gain much experience of what created what shot.
Yeah.
You swing, it goes somewhere, you go, oh, what happened there?
Yeah.
So I think a bit of this is going to be, with this club, just building up a little bit of trust to, like again, path there 1.5 from the inside, to actually not to think of it differently than the rest of the set and to go, okay, it's just a 3-wood.
Yeah.
Let's just hit that little draw that the rest of the set does.
Yeah.
So give yourself a half a ball further away. Just stand a bit further back. Yeah, better. So contact better, 147 ball speed.
I felt
So
really good.
Face to
that one.
path, dead square.
Yeah.
We're still just a hair inside.
Yes.
Hence it's just drifting. But that one looked like you just let go of it
Yeah,
more.
it
100
felt,
mile,
yeah.
101 old club speed, 0.6 path, 0.2 face to path.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
much
felt
better.
really nice, that one.
So again, very happy with where that shaft is. Headwise, again, there are two ways you could look at this. One is to say, is it worth putting a shaft in that and develop a bit of confidence with it? And
Yeah.
kind of like the driver head, take a general look to say, right, if we we can upgrade at any point, but is it worth kind of finding out what it does for you and then go, okay, I'm using it for this, or I want this sort of shot out of it, and then we can tune it in.
Yeah, I think I'm actually quite happy with staying with this, to be fair. I like
'Cause it's a nice,
the feel of it. Feels
spin
a
and
lot,
launch are fine. Yeah, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Technically, newer models will be better across the face, but I think if it's a club that you've almost gone, it's almost like a new club of the bag. So let's get it established,
Get it dialed,
and then we can always fine tune it if there's the need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a much better.
Yeah.
When I put it back in, it's going to feel like a feather.
God,
And I think it's quite likely that you're not going to go anywhere near it.
No, I
for the
don't. No, I
next,
don't. No, I really don't want to know. I'm kind of like not looking forward to going home with this set. I think a little bit. It's
One of two things will happen. You'll either play so unbelievably well with them because you stop caring,
Yeah.
or horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get that. Oh, I'm going to be changed. Right, I'm gonna show him.
Well, this was it. When I came to just do a loft and lie, and after that, when I was told that this was all wrong, I struggled. I struggled so bad, and that was it. And then immediately I was like, I've got to get some lead tape and try and sort this out. And then after that, it was. I think if I hadn't been told, I would have just carried on as normal, kind of thing. You know?
And I think where the irons would have been relative to what we've gone to, I mean, it's a long way off.
Yeah.
So just don't need to hit one with it, but that's the lack of ways. Yeah.
There's nothing there, is it? There's nothing there whatsoever. Jeez.
Okay. So then it's that bridging point. So with drivers 275, 280.
Yeah.
It's a nice balance, but 250, 255 is going to be the end result with that. So you're about that kind of temp. So what we look for is your driver when it's going to pitch.
Yeah.
No, let's go to the better edge. Yeah, pitching around the 250 mark, which is where that's just finished up. So what we're getting there is that's running out to where the driver's landing.
Got you.
Running out. So that's a really nice sort of combination there.
Yeah.
So we're then looking at being around the 225 odd mark for the next one back. Do I need to? Yeah, I'll just put something together. I'll put the TSI3 together just as a start point.
Yeah. I'm okay. I'm doing good, yeah. Do I look tired?
If you want to try and you don't have to. I'm just saying it makes no difference to me either way. So.
I don't mind PT all the way. PT all the way, let's go. I'm an athlete now. This is it.
It's all right. He's going to be riding high on feel good.
I don't
And
think.
then he spends an hour with me in it.
And then cry, yeah.
But then you still get you get the adrenaline from it, don't you? I need to get my backside in there after you.
It's it's. I was actually quite happy with my fitness, to be fair. I've always been quite an athletic person, and I've not really done any sort of like PT for a long time. But I think it's I think it's my job that's kept me fit, to be fair. But being a builder, so.
Let's go. So if we that, let's go to.
You haven't hit the ceiling with your fitness yet.
Awful. That's one of your better ones.
Serious dad joke there. Dad's a proud across the nation with that one.
Yeah. That's one for the crackers. Let's see if I can just take a little bit of weight off that.
Actually, there was a good dad joke in it the other day.
Oh no, please don't embarrass me, Dad, come on. Don't embarrass me.
Why don't cows wear sandals?
Why?
They're lactose.
Right.
Oh.
No. Lactose.
It's not a good dad joke unless you're grown. Even better, it was clean. It's just a little heavy, so just want to take just a touch of weight off this. Just find a different weight. Just want to get one slightly less heavy.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so I'll do this, it'll be easier. It's not far off. So this one more kind of where you look for the gap between effectively 4R and 3 wood. Where's this most likely to be used? Is it distance fairway club?
I would like to use this more as a, if I'm looking at the hole, it doesn't suit my eye, but I want to get a bit of distance down there still.
Yeah.
That kind of, and that's what I would generally use my my 2-iron for.
Yeah.
Because that generally goes around sort of like the 230, 240 mark, stuff around that sort of distance. So it's just like I said, it's nice. But then if I am at that distance and I actually need to play something into a green, I've got no hope with that.
Yeah,
It's just not
coming in
right
like
for it.
So with this one, just literally take it down a centimetre from the top because the bounce is slightly heavier than I want. So, okay.
I think that, I'm not sure.
See one more. So these are the ones where like a fractional change will make it feel
Yeah.
amazing or shocking.
Because it felt a bit dead,
Okay,
just a
yeah.
little bit. Yeah, just I feel like a little too heavy maybe.
Yeah. Okay, I'll
But
watch one. We're just to kind of see one thing, but. Yeah, you see it's just lagging behind a little
Yeah.
bit, but okay, I want to pull the flight up a bit more on that as well. Just loft that up a touch more before I change shape.
Which one is it? Is it like a 3 hybrid or like a 2 hybrid?
This
or
one's the 2 turned up in loft at the moment,
okay.
so sort of start with that.
First 3 or 4 you picked were still the best ones. Second one was the best. Oh, that's the carry on there.
IZ 75, so just bring it just below 80. Don't want to go too heavy, you want to use the tip a little bit. So whether this will feel fairly stable. It's whether it gives you enough kind of kick back. Just going to look at the workshop. I do want to get that lighter weight.
Yeah.
When I was little, my parents always fed me alphabet soup, claiming that I liked it. But they were just putting words in my mouth.
That's a good one, that one. I like that one. I think that beats yours.
Slightly different. Just from a weighting point of view, the different head, we can just go back to that. It's just still a little strong. I'm going to actually switch it to the TSI 2.
I think aesthetically, I prefer the look of the TSI 2. I think it's just got that kind of a bit more of a teardrop kind of look. Where I think the TSI 3, it's nice, but it's almost like they've kind of like just chopped a bit of it off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very much a ironwood, iron hybrid style because it's that bit more compact.
It reminds me a little bit of like we're going back here now. It would be like the first sort of like Titleist driving iron. It was like the 902F, I think it was, or something like that. Like
They did 585, I think it was.
I think that's
something
the
like
one,
that.
where it was like it was very much like an iron head, but with like a really like round back and like a carbony kind of insert in the back.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So I've got one of them. Still, I actually did get on with that quite well, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, through the ball that much better. Let's see, where's that flight?
That felt really nice. I just like looking down at this a little bit better as well.
Okay. Okay, I'll change the shaft a little bit, but that's a major step in there. Much better weight.
Yeah, it feels a lot nicer.
It's a bit like with the woods, it's a fairly soft progression in weight. It's not
I just feel a little bit with that though. It kind of sits a bit open.
okay. Yeah, I can toe that in a little bit more. Yep, not a problem. It's Ascent Black. So it's actually one that they're using as one of the standard tailor-made ones. But it's again, it may become slightly counterbalanced. But again, it's just making sure that last one's very, very neutral. Just drag that balance point up a little bit more and see whether that helps to clear it through and get a little bit more spin to it.
That feel just there alone feels nicer. Just
Okay.
just a little bit light. Just a touch feels a little bit lighter.
Does it sit a bit better in that setting?
Yes.
Yep. Better ball speed straight away.
Yeah.
Okay.
That felt lovely. That one. Really nice.
Yeah, just slight shift in balance point just made it a little easier to clear through
Yeah.
and collect. So dead square on face to path. Hit well a little, so probably 5 degrees down, so a little more on top of it. So it's just bulleted it a little bit.
Yeah.
But actually, then end result is where we want it to be from a total point of view.
Yeah.
Flight it up a bit more, it'll carry further.
Yeah.
But if that's where it ends up being, it's still a very reliable shot.
Yeah.
And then I think a bit like we're saying with the driver and the fairways, because you get that bit shallower onto it, it's going to take angle of attack from 5 to about 3, and then pick the flight
Right.
up a little bit more.
Got you.
That's certainly a good good base. I'll see one
Yeah.
more there, but that looked just so much easier through the
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that looks like you just hit
Yeah.
repeat.
It's lovely. That's
So
really
actually
nice.
slightly
like-
faded, but that's then got the flight and the spin right up there.
Yeah.
So in terms of where we'd look for this to be, to give you a little bit of softness when it lands.
Yeah.
So bear in mind that's faded a bit, like 3.7, 3.8 on the spin. So that's 3.9.
Yeah.
So and it's picked the launch angle up a degree. So you're then
Yeah.
getting plenty of height and plenty of stopping power.
Yeah.
And as angle of attack softens a little bit, what will happen is launch angle will pick up, but the spin will stay pretty stable.
Yeah.
So that head, just a little bit of a deeper weighting, just helps to collect the ball and get under it.
Yeah.
It's not a low spin. A lot of hybrids take spin off, and so cannon it.
Yeah.
And where you get a bit on top, if you
Yeah.
get on top and get the low spin one, then it's come out like a
Yeah,
gun.
too low. Yeah.
So that's going to retain a little bit of spin, of which there aren't many hybrids that do that.
Right.
There's one other head I'm going to get
Okay.
to look at flight. Well, yeah, we'll see whether it's one that you want to use or not. But
Right. Okay.
results should be good, but we'll.
So far, we're stuck with Titleist at the moment, so it'd be interesting if it's.
Yeah, and partly with that one, it is that spin profile,
Mm.
that not being draw biased
Yeah.
and being mid spin.
Right.
So a lot of hybrids are draw biased and tend to take a little bit of spin off. So this other one's actually it's a Cobra hybrid. So it's the Tech. It's a bit of a different look.
I've never been a fan of Cobras.
They're
I don't know what it is. I've always kind of been a bit like.
They've been, because they've gone there with colours and things like that, they've always been,
Yeah.
and when they were owned by Acushnet and sort of underneath Titleist, they were always sort of seen as a bit gimmicky,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a shame for them because they've made some really good products over the years.
Right.
And I think are a little underrated for them.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the opinion tends to stick.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a different visual. So you've got a,
Yeah.
but we'll see. So performance like very stable, and again tends to retain a bit of spin, but we'll see whether.
It looks really nice, actually. To be fair, I think it, like, especially with the colours of the shaft and things like that as well. It's quite. I may eat my words in a minute. That actually felt really nice.
Okay, picked up a little bit more launch.
Yeah.
So it's a head that I've probably not used enough this year for retaining that spin side of things. It's quite versatile because of the weighting on the bottom. You can make it toe balanced, heel balanced, neutral. But where, like for yourself, we're looking to retain a little bit of flight.
Yeah.
It's a really good head.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good head. Very stable. got a little bit in front of that
Yeah.
one.
Bit-
It's very slightly.
Yeah.
This is where we've got that kind of glued attachment in. It's very slightly heavier than where that Titleist head was.
Yeah.
So easy without the glued in attachment to get that balance back down in line.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And so that's where I think it's just getting a little bit later and you're just staying a little bit right.
Right. Okay.
But flight-wise, in a better place.
Yeah.
So balance-wise on a build, piece of cake.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to have
The-
6-7 grams of
Attachment there. Yeah.
attachment into there. Do you want to pop that back on?
Yeah. I might just have to give it one more go.
Of course, yeah.
It feels really nice.
Mm.
I don't get that look from it. It's really like it feels lovely.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
But the TSI 2 is
It's
just
a pure
that
looking
little,
head.
yeah.
I don't know, it's not like it's not performing either.
Yeah. I said I was open to like changing manufacturers and things like that, but clearly not at the moment.
You'll only go so far.
Yeah.
Well, we've all got preferences and tendencies. And you know what? If you can fit a club that fits within that, then against going back to that, you're going to look forward to pulling it out of the bag. So that balance swings better. It just squares up a little bit more easily.
I do prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like the impact feels a little bit nicer actually with the Cobra, but I think just overall that kind of that little bit of the weight and the actual then looking down at address and things is just I prefer the tip of the title. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit heely, which just dropped pop the spin a little bit on that one. But it's in terms of how consistent directionally that is, very, very, very clean through the ball. You know, you've got one slight right, but then two of them are absolutely piped dead down the line.
Yeah.
And so clean hit on it, you're up at 230, 235. So yeah, it fits the gap well, and so it's going to give you something so much more usable than that 2-iron off the fairway.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But being an iron player and on top of it, that smaller hybrid head versus a 5-wood head is going to be more reliable from a picture flight point of view.
Yeah.
So
Perfect. Yeah,
Brand.
so
I
that's
think-
probably been my favourite. Today out of the day, it's been my favourite so far.
Cool.
Really nice.
Yeah, and I think that sort of gapping bit at the top, this is really then where, I mean, that club, you can take a little bit off, cut it up, take 10, 15, 20 yards off it if you really need to hoist it up. I think in terms of the gapping of it, yes, the 4-iron's going to be a pretty strong flight. You've then got this that can give you that little bit more lift. If you were playing in the States, you might look at a 4-iron and go, okay, do we actually put a hybrid in to send it upwards? But you gotta, I think with how strong your iron play is, I think you go higher loft hybrid, you risk that, like the 5-wood, that little bit of a flary one.
Yeah.
And I think the incidence of shots you're going to hit at 4-iron length, where having it land soft as a feather is really, really, really important versus a long par 3 into a bit of wind, where off a tee you're going to get more flight.
Yeah.
I think reliability of ball striker with the irons is great as well. I think there's going to be, probably this one, if you can get comfortable with that little bit of a fadey one just to take a little off it, that's going to bridge it back to 4-iron really comfortably. But I think if we were to try and manage that gap differently, I think you're going to end up with a club that becomes incredibly one-dimensional. Yeah. Yes, you could argue the 4-irons are going to be a lower, stronger flight.
Yeah.
But the next alternative is one that goes straight up there.
Yeah.
And I think the better balance of it is fairway wood to this to 4-iron. And then it's just a case of knowing what are green light shots to go with and which ones you go, you know what, it's a par, you're hitting it probably on a par 5.
Right.
There's a yardage you want to lay up to because they're just not comfortable with that shot.
Yeah.
Or you're going to get comfortable just cutting this one up and taking it a little bit off.
Yeah.
There's always that little bit of a decision point within the set. I think for you, because of your natural flight with the longer irons, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah.
But that's just going to be course strategy.
Yeah.
It's a bit like if someone hits moon ball and you're playing into wind. Well, what do you do? For you, it's a case of you've got bunker short and you've got 205, 210 to hit to. is a 4-iron quite going to carry it? This
Yeah.
one you've got to take it a little bit off it,
Yeah.
and then make the decision: is that a shot I want to take on or not?
Yeah.
But I don't. I think we're making quite a big compromise either side to try to do something with the 4-iron, where it's such a strong club for you ball striker wise, and then such a reliable club as a short par 4 off the tee kind of shot as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that gapping down. So you've got, if you want to put the 2-iron in, you've got a 2-iron.
Yeah.
Which actually, in terms of spec, isn't a million miles off that.
Yeah.
But I think that brings in such a well, again, you can knock the flight down with that if you want
Yeah.
to. You're not going to struggle with flighting it down. I think that brings in such a different shot and reliability of trajectory that for how many times you're going to be using it,
Yeah.
or that have that sort of distance in around, it's more
Yeah.
reliable off the tee. Well, long par 3,
Yeah.
or it's an approach shot to a par 5,
Yeah.
or a stupidly long par 4.
Yeah.
Of which there aren't that many we come up against. So
I think as well with it, when you do get it wrong with that 2-iron, it's so like dissatisfying,
Yeah.
and the sound, and the
destructive.
feel, and like it can really just affect your mental state of a round. Where I think that if you do clip it a little bit wrong with that, it's not going to feel as bad. It's not going to probably fly as bad as well.
no, you're still going to get some trajectory
Yeah.
onto it. As you say, with the 2-iron, it's
Yeah.
that height.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Wedges.
Wedges. Yeah.
I'll move this up so we're not bouncing
Not hitting the
backwards.
roof. Yeah.
No, this is where, I mean, chances are it is a standard wedge shaft. But yeah, we'll.
I think you'll because I think it's a fake. Well, obviously they're fake heads.
Yeah, and the 56 is at 58.
Yeah.
currently as well. So, shall we? We'll get a couple of swings with them. Yeah. So at the beginning we were saying that poor old Matty's got some heads that look like Vokeys but are not. So they've
Wokies,
there's a bit of lead tape on them. So actually, in terms of how they look, they look in essence like a Vokey wedge. The finish is, once you look closer, the finish is too polished, too chromed, rather than the satin. The numbers are a little bit narrow. I mean, actually, a lot of the face to it, actually the milling on the toe side's a little bit strong, ironically.
Right.
Other than that, the detailing is really good. It's just that we know that they're not right. The head weights are way off. Once you go into the detail, looking at balances and swing weights, shaft lengths, they're short and really light, and too chromed. So, I mean, actually, they'll probably, performance-wise, from a spin things point of view, be fine, apart from the fact there's just no weight to them.
Yeah. But they actually play. I actually really like them. To be fair, it's quite weird. I've
condone fake.
yeah. But I think that's also the problem that you get with buying online. Instead of coming to a place like this, you can't trust what you're getting online, because obviously I looked at them in the pictures and they look perfectly fine, and they came all wrapped up.
Oh yeah, the sticker's the wrong colour and the wrong font and slightly kind of narrower font. So they're kind of little keys that it's one of those when you know you know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'd say we've seen other wedges before that have been faked that actually, perform fine. It's just they're not what someone's paid for.
Well, to be fair, they do chew the casing up. That's what I have noticed, that they are quite aggressive on taking off the casing. So
that's probably where with where the milling on the toes is a little bit strong, it's a little bit deeper, a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
It's probably made the face illegal. It's probably too aggressive.
Too aggressive, right.
Yeah. So what would be interesting, just like a couple of comfortable 3/4 pitching swings. So this is the 56, which is 58. So probably like a, 70, 80 yard shot, that kind of thing, 60, 70. Ish. Okay.
Oh, bit right.
And this is where, again, like we found through the set, because they're, one, you can see having to sit
Yeah,
down
they
to
just
it.
feel so. Now going back into these, they feel so small.
Yeah. But there's also no feel of the head.
Yeah.
Comparable as well. So where we're at D2 and a bit on the 6-iron, you'd be looking more like D4, D4.5, D5. So a standard swing weight for them, but they're C8, D0, and D2.
Yeah.
And half inch shorter than they would be most of the time. So. Okay.
They just feel so small now.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's, again, it's about, with the wedges, you want to use the weight to play the shot.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment what we're seeing is going right because there's not that momentum to pull you through the shot. So
Right.
it ends up being a little bit that way. Because the one thing with the wedge you're not going to do is wrap over
Yeah.
the top and drag it. Or certainly it's when you're going to avoid that feel for sure. Yeah, it's that little bit allows you just to drag. So that one's squared off, but generally you're going to drag face across and whip face open.
Yeah.
So in terms of, this is where angle of attack's good, squeeze it, launch angle's good, spin proportion's pretty good. It's just that you're having to do a lot. There's a lot of Zorro going on. So I'll put. I don't think the shaft weight's unsuitable. If it does weigh where a dynamic gold normally would, we'll find out.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But I'll put a production one together and we'll see where it comes out.
So this be slightly a little bit longer. Will this be? Yeah. Perfect.
Let's make sure I pulled out the right shaft length. We'll start with that. Yeah. So this one's kind of where your 52 is for length. So we'll start with this. And a little heavier in the head. I'll just make sure it's not been altered for lie and things. Okay. So a lot more feel for the head.
Oh wow. Yeah. Instantly you can notice the difference. Same sort of 80
Yeah,
yards.
same swing. Yeah, we'll sort of get a marker on where if we get that dead weight up there, where does it take us to? Yeah, so give you some weight and straight away that's squared up. Whereas with the lighter one, it's outright. So
Yeah.
again, it's ironic. It's the weight that's taking you through the shot. So you can. It's the momentum build up and then the weight of the club that creates the release. So that's the bit that allows you just to turn back, turn through,
Yeah.
and off it goes.
Right.
So yeah, what we can see is that it's 56 rather than 58. We've got the same amount of spin.
Right.
So it's less loft and proportionately a little bit more spin relative to loft.
Okay.
Which is good. Yeah, so it's not drifting off right at all, which is good. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of weight back on that. So see if we just dial the weight back very slightly.
They feel a hell of a lot softer.
Right, yeah.
A
Okay.
hell of a lot. That's the main thing that I notice. Like just the feel compared to them as well. Like I think if you get like one groove out on them, you just notice the difference. With this, it just feels so soft, and they feel really, really hard.
Quality of material, really.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and some of it's that very light weight actually on the others as well. You'll get a lot of vibration back and a lot of it doesn't stay with the shot quite as well.
They feel a lot more comfortable when I'm actually just stood there, because I'm not like this.
Yeah, I'd even take it a little bit longer than that as well.
Yeah.
Another quarter inch or so. I mean, the one that's really going to make the difference is your 60's down at 34 and a quarter, so a half inch shorter than standard.
Right.
If anything, we want to just creep it, if we can, just a hair longer.
A hair longer, right.
So that's the matching shaft to your irons. So
Right.
The Project X's tend to, because the middle section's a little bit stiffer, it's whether from a feel point of view, whether it feels a little dead for the shorter shots. Right. So a lot of the time players will go to a dynamic gold in the wedges because it's a slightly softer midsection. Right. So you get a little more play in the shaft, a bit more feedback.
Okay.
It's pretty square. Okay, not quite interesting. How did the strike feel on that?
It felt nice,
probably a
but
different
it
grade.
felt like something.
In terms of swinging, did it feel? I've got to make sure this makes sense up here first. Which one felt simpler to swing?
the first one, the one before.
Okay, yeah, all right,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, because that's where again the simpler it feels, the less you got to do with the club
Yeah.
head. It kind of looked like there's a little bit more going on. Partly it's slightly like to show a bit more separation
Yeah.
that weight. I'm going to try to even that balance off a little bit now. And so the dynamic gold shaft is a good wedge shaft. Yeah, it's why so many of the tour guys use it. Yeah,
Right.
It's
The real ones.
Yeah, real ones. Yeah.
it's not too harsh. You've got a decent bit of weight there. Balance profile's pretty neutral. It's a good all-round shaft for the wedges.
Just feels so nice. That one felt really, really nice.
Okay.
Different shaft you've put
Yeah.
in it.
So that's the high rev, KBS high rev.
Yeah, that
So-
felt really nice.
A few grams less heavy than the, I was going to say the Voki, a few grams less heavy than the dynamic gold, 5
Yeah.
grams. Definitely, in principle, there's a little bit more through the tip.
Yeah.
But again, it stops it getting, that's certainly going to stop it feeling heavy.
Yeah.
It should feel a little bit like you could generate maybe a little bit more speed through the
Yeah.
ball without the club getting out of sync and kind
Yeah.
of playing catch up. So just bringing that dead weight down 5 grams or so.
They feel really, really nice. Really nice.
Okay, let's put a little bit more head weight on that. Just turn that over a little bit more. Just a touch. Thanks. With the wedges, would you tend to prefer to play a kind of a knockdown 3/4 swing with them, or would you play a more kind of stock swing? Would you play full shots with them?
Probably more like 3/4
Okay.
generally. That's generally what I can. But I'm finding myself at the moment though. Recently, I have been playing a more fuller wedges.
Yeah.
I've always played a knockdown like a 3/4.
Yeah.
Generally, with a lot of my approaches, even up to like sort of like 9, I would play
Mm.
that approach, that kind of that knockdown shot. I think it's just obviously where I've not had the right wedges, the right length, things like
Yeah.
that. It's when it's so small,
It's a way to control.
it feels so hard to
Mm.
obviously do a full swing.
Okay, there. So actually what we've got, there's a little bit of a squarer face, and then we're back to, because the previous one, the spin was a little less than the dynamic gold shaft, that's
Right.
then back to a similar spin level.
Yeah.
And just held the face a little bit online a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So just drawing the head weight out a touch more on that. So the kind of lighter weight will let you, things like bunkers, create a bit of speed, work the club through and keep the face open. If we go heavier, there's a chance it could get, if you try and zip it through, it could get a little behind and
Okay,
dump
yeah.
it into the sand. But we need that bit of head weight to stop you just over rotating it.
Okay.
And just to almost lag it a little bit longer to stop the release happening too early. Yeah. Yeah, definitely better timing.
Yeah.
Does that feel, I'll put the dynamic gold back in.
I really like.
Prefer the
I
balance
really
of
like
that.
this.
Okay, yeah, no,
I think that it feels nice. Like
Yeah.
I almost feel like I haven't got to think either. It just kind of feels very natural. Feels
Okay, yeah,
Looks
because that
comfortable,
one
yeah.
I think going back to it might feel like a little hefty.
Yeah.
I think that you've got to hit at it rather
Yeah.
than just turn through, almost like
Yeah.
strike a match across it to get the spin.
yeah. It felt like I could just find especially find the centre with it as well. It just,
Okay.
Yeah, it was lovely.
I'll get, no, it doesn't have to be this colour. I'm just going to get a different head just to give you a different feel. Because actually the Vokies, whilst really well made head, technically aren't this one of the softer
Yeah.
heads. They're not a kind of a rock hard head. But if anything, so this one's the, now, I mean, there is also the element if you've got Titleist in the other bits. again, brand-wise and continuity and bag and everything, do you want to keep that? They're still a really good wedge.
Is it a Mizuno?
It is, yeah.
Is it the T22? Is it?
22, yeah.
And is it the copper one?
This one just happens to be because of the bounce
I
side.
love them. I've seen them. They look absolutely beautiful.
That was like kind of a bit of a game of who's who.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good way. Mizuno have been underrated for their wedges for a
Yeah.
long time. They make really good wedges, and from a spin point of view, have always been very good. It's almost like people haven't expected them to be as good as they
Yeah.
are, and they've got some nice sole shapes as well. So, weight that. Make sure that matches the balance that we did on the Vokey. Yeah, the denim copper, an interesting finish.
Yeah, they look really nice.
They Europe didn't, when they said, oh, we've got 3 colours, we've got the raw, the chrome, and one other. They didn't actually commit to what it was initially, and they thought they were going to be blue. So they initially didn't order very many of them.
Right.
They're like, oh, they're not going to sell.
Yeah.
Because they didn't the previous model.
Yeah.
And then when they saw the denim copper, they went, oh no, we've under-ordered.
Right, yeah.
So
That looks lovely, doesn't it?
yeah, so about 200 or 300 revs more spin than that last shot with the Vokey.
They feel really nice though.
Yeah, they're one of the true forged heads. There aren't a lot of them. There's so many different grinds and things. A lot of them will make a very soft casting. The Vokey's a soft casting.
Ooh, not a very good one there. Don't know.
Take just
If
a
I actually like it feels
fraction of head weight back
feels
off
like a
that.
little bit heavy.
Yeah, I was going to say, just take a little bit of that extra weight off that. Look like just having to fetch the head a little.
So I did really like the set we had with the SM9. So lovely that was. I don't know if I get on with these.
Yeah, not as comfortable with them.
I'm a bit disappointed actually. I really wanted them. They're nice. I just
It's like when you get a meal that you've seen on Instagram for ages and think it'd be really nice and get it and go, "Ugh."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Them SM9s that they feel really nice.
And it's better to hit them and go, oh no, I don't like them, to have bought some and go, oh no,
Yeah.
I don't like them. It's
Well, that's the same thing. If you're buying it offline and you want to try it, then you've got a 50-50 chance of liking it or not. You know. Yeah, they just feel so much nicer.
yeah, just turn that one over. I think where we've been a bit heavy with the previous one, there's just a little bit of residual fetch over. That was nice and square.
Yeah.
Better feel?
Yeah. Hell of a lot better feel.
I mean, I'll have a look at the bounce. I just got to get my board from the other day. So what this is going to show us, I'm going to put a bit of tape on the bottom of the wedge as well, is to show you where the strike point on the sole of the wedge is. So where we're looking at bounce, when you're on turf, you can kind of use different pattern to an extent and see how deep it goes on. In here, this really just gives me a marker front to back. So to determine which bit of the sole you're using. So It's really just to give a visual indication,
Right.
so we can look at how are you delivering it, which bit of the sole are you using.
Yeah.
No, I mean, historically, it's something that people have used to measure lie. You can use it to measure lie angle. With lie, the only thing can be that some players will back off it a little bit. So this one, just that kind of same comfortable kind of knockdown swing.
Bit
It's
thin.
right, thin's normally the first one off that.
Yeah.
It's a lot softer than it looks. So that'll, yeah. So yeah, much softer than that looks. So literally, don't worry about striking into that.
I've never really hit off something like this.
That's the one. Yeah. So that'll show me. Yeah. So on that, I'll show the camera. That's in that centre section, which is where we want it to be.
Cool.
So I'll just show that to the camera there. So that majority of the strike there is in the middle section of the sole. So it's not, that was the slight thin first one. And then Maddie's got a little bit deeper into it and it's moved the strike point back. So if all the mark was on the back, then that would mean that the backage is coming in too much. It's literally going to bounce.
Yeah.
If it was on that front part, then it's leading edge coming in and we need a bit more bounce to get it onto that middle section. But for
Yeah.
that, it's so literally right in that centre bit. So you've got a bit of margin either way,
Okay.
but you're using the wide part of the sole. So it
Yeah.
can take that contact and then skid through.
Right.
I'll get one for the higher lofts. I think the principle of the lofts where you're at is good.
Yeah.
If they were, I think, probably a 52 at 51.
Yeah.
The sort of the principle of that sort of 51, 52, 56, 60 works well. The pitch wedge is going to be 47.
Yeah.
So what that one can give us is where that back edge sits up a little bit more from the centre. If you've got something really soft, you can open it up and create loads of bounce.
Right.
We then want a sole shape in the 60 that allows you to open it up and kind of nip underneath it.
Got ya.
And then when you square it off, can sit a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off looking at the M grind,
Right. Okay.
because we want that back edge just to trail off a little bit more. Will you use this club more as a kind of a get out of jail around the greens? Do you use it from 70, 80 yards and out?
Yeah, my 56 I use pretty much for everything really. Like
Okay.
I'm a very, I really like the way that I can control it of like pitches around the green, things
Yeah.
like that, and that sort of that distance in. I'll only ever really use my 60 if I've got to get out of got to get over something really quick and things like that. So
Okay.
the rest of it, my 52, I only use that if I've just got that kind of that yardage in.
100 odd yards or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that's it,
Okay.
yeah.
So this will probably feel slightly head heavier because of the head weights creep up a bit. But so if you play this one like you've got a 30, 40 yards bunker in the way and you've got to pop one over it.
Okay.
Not that I'm asking much.
30, 40 yards, right.
Okay. Yeah, so you still get, because you get that little bit of a forward move, we can't go too low and bounce. So again, that's still fairly central but towards the back part.
Yeah.
So again, I'll just quickly show that to there. That's what we're looking at. Would you crank it open, like in bunkers, would you open it up?
Yes, yeah.
heavily? Okay, so again, it'll seem a bit odd on there, but
Yeah.
just give me that open up on the, and similarly, it'd be the same kind of shot, I guess, if you've got literally a short pop up over a bunker. But yeah, as if you've got to just play a little cut up out of a short sand shot. Okay, yeah. So what you do, and this will show in the strike point, yeah, is when you play that one, your hands go lower, which helps to work the face open.
Yeah.
So that's moved more onto the heel side.
Right.
So what that means, again, show that. So that's the first strike, and that's the second strike. So the second strike's gone back and into the heel because the hands have dropped down. So what that means, actually the base sole shape's good, because for your standard shots, it's in that middle section. You've got the wide bit here to use.
Yeah.
But when you open it up, what we'd need to do, I'll take that off, what we'd need to do is where that ridge is on the sole of this, is drop that down. So from a grind point of view, smooth that peak, because that'll just let it blend. So that's better if you've got like the sort of turfs in the States where there's less root structure, it's a bit softer. So that stops it digging. Here we've got thinner turf, thinner grass, firmer turf, sits down. So just blending that in will let it skid through a little more.
Okay,
But with that ridge there on the heel, we need to take that down.
Okay.
So that as your hands drop down for you to work it open, that's not catching.
Got you.
So it's just effectively kind of blending in there, dropping that bit, and then smoothing off the crest.
Right.
So just to make it so that for the way you play those shots, and particularly that get out of jail around there, that heel doesn't catch, catapult it over.
Flip it over.
So
Got
if we go to something like the L grind, you lose a little bit of width. But we actually need a bit of that depth in that centre section at the back. So the width helps us in softer conditions. But as long as we take the ridge off and clear the heel down, then you can still get at it in tight turf. So it's just making those grinds work for you. The S grind in the 56 is great. That's absolutely fine. And that gives you plenty of armoury in that sort of middle range. And also, say you crank it open, you've got really soft, crank it open, you've got loads of bounce to work with. But in the 60, we've got to grind the heel down a little bit.
Right, got you.
Which there are very, very few wedges that actually go that deep on the heel. But yeah, that will just get in the way if we don't.
Got you.
And then on the 52 is a pretty simple equation in that it's a stock shot swing. So your F grind, you could, if we were, I'm just again thinking out loud, you could to the higher bounce. And then it's, actually the way to do it is probably actually go to 50 and bend it up in loft a little bit, rather than going to 12 and then having to grind off the back. You know, 50 and 58, 50 and 52 start at 8 degrees. If we take the 50 to 51, you're giving it 9, you're just putting that back edge down a little bit. If we start 52, 12 and take it forward, you're lifting everything up a little bit. So actually you're giving yourself a little bit more bounce without it being too, I think 12 is on the heavy side for it. And I think chipping and things, it's going to make you have to put your hands forward a little bit. Whereas if we take the 50 and bend it up a degree, it's only going up 1.5 degrees of bounce. It's not suddenly going 4 degrees extra and having to take the back edge off. So I think I prefer to go 50 and bend it up. Keeps that leading edge nice and square. But also just softly gives us a little bit more bounce to play with, rather than whacking a load on the back edge and then having to grind the hell out of it afterwards. So I think that then it'll get us to exactly the same place in loft, but a slightly more sympathetic sole shape. Just note down how we're gonna grind those. Okay. I'd say lengthwise, we'd be looking at pitch wedge is going to be, if we went a standard progression, pitch wedge is going to be, a quarter inch longer than your current ones. But then 52 ends up half an inch longer than, half an inch longer on the 52, half inch longer on your 56, and you could then go. I was thinking then even if we kept a shortening progression, your 60 ends up basically the same length as your 52 is currently. So it's 3/4 inch longer because it drops down quite so much on your current ones. If you're only using your 60 for the little shots around the greens, it's already going to be a lot longer. Going longer than that doesn't really help. We want that. Want a bit of shortness to be able to kind of manipulate and work that underneath. The longer it gets, so again, exaggeration is Bryson. It's got a big long arc, and yes, you can hit it very high, but you lose the ability to manipulate, and especially the way you drop your hands down and work that under. The longer we go, the more of a loop you like to get into. So I'd like to keep. Sevi was almost down the shaft. I like to keep that length a little shorter for the shots you're hitting, because it allows you to work that head under a bit more. So the longer we get it, the more. That way it's going to go. So I think keeping that progression a standard progression, you're gaining 3/4 inch on your 60, which is massive amounts. So, 2 questions. The second one you can think about. Second one's the lasering. Obviously, there's loads of space. On these to put stuff finish on the wedges. That would obviously blend through
Yeah.
from irons into wedges and visually stay the same.
Yeah.
They do the brush steel,
Right,
which
okay.
is sort of similar, it's close on finish, close. It's like you can see where as we sort of clean it off, it fades a little bit on the
Yeah.
face. So it starts off that sort of colour and it will sort of soften and lighten a little bit over time, but starts off a bit of a darker chrome.
Black? Or they do like a
yeah, blacks. I forgot about that. Yeah, and black. Yeah, and that again that'll soften off the blacks.
Yeah. I think black. to be
It'll
fair.
very lightly. It's not going to
Yeah.
rust up like the raw.
Oh yeah, I
You get a little
expect
bit of
that
tarnishing.
the finish does
But
go
yeah,
on
and then
them,
you've got
obviously,
the
especially if you.
then you've got the jet black. Now,
Yeah, the black ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so can't do as much on
Yeah.
there. Can't do as much on the.
Yeah. I do like the black, to be fair.
Yeah, it's how it frames the ball. Really, you're not
Yeah.
going to get any glare off of it.
That's what I've
Yeah, but-
noticed with these, with my
Right, yeah.
my Wokies.
Yeah.
The chrome on them, it's blinding.
Yeah.
It's so blinding. Like,
So the chrome that will be softer because it's a satin.
yeah,
So you still get. I mean, that one not going to get anything.
Mm.
Actually, that is almost more than that. So it is a satin rather than a chrome. But obviously, that'll kill any of the.
yeah.
kill any
I do
of
like the black. Yeah,
Yeah, so if you're like that's got a little pattern. Like if you're going to etch something on, if you were to do something like that, you would see it. But you probably need a paint fillet,
yeah,
or we could probably go deep enough that it would
Yeah.
show actually. But again, let's just sort of have a ponder.
have a ponder
Have a
of what I want
ponder,
on there. Yeah,
yeah,
I do like the. Sometimes I just like the classic stamp.
yeah.
Just having the set, just because I think you can sometimes go a bit like too much with it. I just think that like a classic stamp, maybe like a red infill on it would look quite nice.
Yeah, with the black going
Yeah.
that little bit brighter. I mean, you get a bright enough red, it'll show
Yeah.
out. Yeah, the brighter colours stand
Yeah.
out really nicely on those.
Do they do a black shaft in the KBS?
They have done.
Yeah.
I know for a fact currently there aren't any at the moment.
Right.
It's a question of at what point next
Yeah.
year they come through. Yeah, they have historically done one,
Right.
and it will come back at some point.
Yeah.
But I asked the question actually yesterday or the day before for
Yeah.
someone, and it is a case of at some point, but
Yeah.
currently none.
I think it's not like a major thing because I've seen people that have had them and they do chip
They
up
do
and
mark
look.
up. Yeah.
So I think having the black head, that's the most kind of
Mm.
important thing. I think that, and having that finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And so in terms of what you want doing with this, that's
Yeah.
a case of let us know. We
Later
can,
date, yeah.
get that done before assembly is much easier.
Yes. Yeah.
So then grip type and size. So
Yes.
let's see your hand size. Double check.
I
hand
I
size.
think
medium large.
Yes, let me
Yeah. Okay.
large, yeah. Because I
So-
like a sort of a chunky grip.
Yeah, because I mean, some of these are there's
Some
the
of them
odd-
are mid-size,
some
and
are
then
mid-size.
the
You've got a
irons.
+4 on drive.
I think the irons have got 2 layers of tape on.
Put them together, yeah. And they're a standard with 2. Okay, so I'll just see how that sits in. How that sits in your fingers. Yeah, it's not too bad. A little bit small, not too bad there.
Mhm.
You can see there's a bit of a gap around there. That's going to move about a touch, so that's
Yeah.
going to create a little bit of tension.
Yeah.
Let's just see from a mid-size point of view how that compares. Yeah, so that does fit the top of your hand better.
Right.
That one actually the shaft tapers down. That actually tapers down quite quick into the bottom hand.
Mm.
I'll get one that's on a more neutral kind of taper profile just to see how that feels. Yes, it's whether to go a little bit bigger in the bottom hand. Just release your right hand and put it back on, just to see how that bottom hand. Yeah, that to me just looks like you've got to close that index finger a little bit.
Right.
So otherwise it'll just sort of hang off the grip a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to get one that has a bit of a less of a taper. If we reduce the taper down a touch, then it's going to mean again a bit less tension. which
Is that
not a
created
bad
by the
thing.
grip or is that created by the tape that you're applying?
This would be, well, depending on which, if it's one of those, we'd need to tape it up slightly on the bottom. The +4 might get a bit too big in the bottom.
Right, okay, yeah.
So that one should just fill that finger
Yeah.
out a little bit better.
That
so that's
does,
equivalent of like 2 extra tapes.
Right, okay,
The
yeah.
+4 goes another 2 on top of that.
Right, got you.
And then they get stupidly heavy as well.
Right, okay.
So with something like that grip, if we just added a little bit of extra tape into the bottom,
Yeah.
then it's just going to fill that finger out a little bit better.
Right. Got
And
you.
that's going to mean just not having quite, not needing quite as much pressure to keep control of the club, and then free the hands up a little bit more.
Because I think the thing I'll be probably picky over the most would be grips.
Yeah.
Like because it's your connection
Yeah.
towards it, and I do like a corded grip.
Yep.
And I think I tried one the other day, and I really fell in love with it. It was the Golf Pride. It was
Z cord.
The Z cord,
I was
which
hoping you were
fully
gonna say
corded
that.
with a white end.
Yeah.
They look really nice.
Yeah.
Them, yeah.
Good grip,
And feel
slightly
great.
firmer feel.
Yeah.
But the good thing with that is it's not as heavy as some. So
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping you were going to say that.
Perfect. Then that's
yeah.
great.
So
yeah.
that absolutely, you can do the same thing in terms of
Yeah.
the tape layering, but it actually doesn't add quite as much dead weight as this.
Got you.
So there's 57 grams. This is 64.
Okay.
So actually, by going to that, it
Yeah.
actually keeps the base weight of the club a
Yeah.
little bit more under control, which is perfect. Yeah. Would you want the Golf Pride logo on the top or underneath?
I think you've seen one of them. I've two on. I've turned round recently, and I actually would prefer it turned round.
Underneath. Yep.
It's just like less going on.
Cool. Yeah, and then it's literally just you and the club head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect. That. Yeah. Sorry. So, I mean, good side with the grip is that grip weight, it keeps it, absolutely in line with what we tested. But essentially, yeah, driver head's good. Pretty much through the bag, we just need a bit more weight to hit against, and so that where your game is moving to, it's going to continue to be relevant at that point.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a bit more of a challenge to start with in terms of getting. You might find that swings you'd get away with, these you won't get away with. But as your technique and your practice improves, then those are just going to get, that's going to tighten things up, and you're going to get rewarded for the better swings more.
Yeah.
So with driver, it's upping weight by 6-7 grams. Structure, it's a little bit more stable. So that again is going to allow you to just unload on it. And as you get more comfortable shallowing it, that angle of attack will just get a little bit more towards a zero, maybe a bit positive.
Yep.
And at that point, potentially look at whether the head's optimised for flight. But at the moment, it's in a good place.
Yep.
3-wood, it's about 15 grams more than the shaft. So it's bringing in that. Your fairwoods are a different game to the rest of the bag currently. And so it's aligning everything. So giving you 72, 73 gram shaft rather than 57 gram shaft. Again, head currently working well, but even if we weren't sure about it and it is flighting well, I'd want to get it to a point it becomes usable.
Yes,
and then take stock on the head and a bit like the driver. Just double check that's still relevant once everything beds in.
Yeah.
But yeah, much more stability in the 3-wood. Length would keep the same, wouldn't alter that. But so just the 30% more weight in it, 25% more weight in it. 5-wood leave for the moment, 2-iron leave for the moment, but the hybrid, get that TSI2 hybrid in to give you a playable, comfortable, comfortable shot that gives you a bit of flight from 225, 230 out.
Yes.
So that quite a good all-round club.
Yeah, I really
just a
enjoyed that one.
User-friendly club, which just doesn't, at the moment, you just got a bullet. And then irons, the T100's just flighted it better. The head design is designed to keep a bit of spin on, keep the lofts in line with where the MBs are, but you've got much more stability from the tungsten in the sole, a little bit more flight in the long irons for certain, but upping the shaft weights from sort of 110, 113 to the Project X's at 122, 23. And the moment we gave you that weight, you could see everything just tidied up and you could just swing.
That was it,
So really kind of knitted everything together. A little bit longer on the lengths, some proper vokeys in the wedges, but actually so actually kind of blending weights, just up a couple of grams from the irons, but the KBS, the high rows will give you a bit more feel, a bit more feedback. And that just helped timing and square up and keep a bit of speed through, which keeps the spin up. Lofts, again, broadly speaking, where the stated lofts of your current ones are, but you're 56 at 56, but just blending the grind on the 60 so that when your hands drop to work the club underneath, that the heel doesn't catch and catapult.
Yeah.
And then whatever stamping you want on them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And grips go the mid-size. Go the mid-size in the grip and just a little bigger in the bottom hand. That again just fits your hands well. That keeps the tension out of here, which again helps to shallow and take any overt influence through impact. Off there.
Perfect.
And keep doing what you're doing.
Cheers,
The
mate.
swing's looking great.
Thank you.
So, And yeah, potentially worth. I think interesting. I think with the driver, I think Pro V1 is a better ball.
Yes.
Irons, you could argue Pro V1X.
Yes.
But I think I'd probably rather keep the flight where it is in the driver, because if we gain a little bit of, if you gain a bit of confidence and trust with the irons, you're going to pick a bit of flight up anyway. So I think optimising the ball flight a little bit more in the driver and not letting it spin versus a hair more flight in your long irons, I would probably gut feel keep it with the Pro V1. But again, something we can always cross-reference.
Yes, yeah.
As and when.
Perfect.
Any questions?
No, happy.
Cool.
Happy.
Cool. Well lasted out. Yeah.
That's it.
So I think, yeah, I think what's good is there's a tangible difference. I think for where your game's at, we can say, right, the next step, these are really going to help make that next step on. So for where your handicap's coming down and you're just getting smaller and smaller margins of error out in the course, this should help us to kind of blend that together. I mean, the same swing feel all the way through the set works all the way through the set, rather than standing going, right, what do I do with this club? What do I do with that club?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's a wedge.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So should be good moving forward. So hope everyone's enjoyed it. Any questions, let us know.
Yeah.
Either of us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, now he's going to use the gym.
Yes. Yeah, ready for some pain.
Good luck. Well played. Good stuff.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.